was listening in last week. Stephen Kelly is on the line as well. Stephen, you were in studio last Saturday. You know, Stephen's actually in Dublin. I think he might be just around the corner. He's just refused to ever come back into studio again after last week's effort. But it's fine.
I really enjoyed it last week, actually. I'd love to get back in as soon as I'm back.
All right, well, there's an open invitation whenever you want. We'll just make sure.
Johnny's managed to turn his microphone off now.
I thought it was muted and I was turning it on.
Once Johnny's trying to convince me to gamble again or do something untoward, then it's fine.
What else was he trying to encourage you to do? I should apologise to Johnny, actually, because I was on the way to Mayo against Dublin, and I as I texted in to our WhatsApp group, I said Johnny had his ass handed to him on a plate by, was it Peter Hood, for Johnny suggesting that there was going to be loads of goals in the game between Leicester and Crystal Palace, because he basically read it in the Racing Post, even though all the stats suggested otherwise. But it turned out there was a lot of goals in the game.
4-1, Johnny Ward vindicated.
Well, it was just one of them games where there isn't an awful lot to play for, and they're probably a bit more chilled out at the end of the season. But Peter knew the score.
Well, the Leicester manager got sacked, so he had something to play for. But
well, Peter's back on later. He told us he'd give us the winner of the Gold Cup, didn't he? 53106 is the text number if you want to get in touch. We're live on all our social channels for the afternoon as well. There's 5 games underway in the Premier League at 3 o'clock, including the game at the Vitality Stadium where Bournemouth are taking on Manchester City. City just need a point to go back on top, but really you feel they want to get all 3 and put some pressure on Liverpool ahead of the Merseyside derby tomorrow. Manchester United have a chance to go back up to 4th in the table. They're at home to Southampton. That's after Spurs and Arsenal drew 1-1 in the North London derby. We'll get some reaction to that in just a couple of minutes time. The other games, big at the bottom: Brighton against Huddersfield, Burnley against Crystal Palace, and Wolves against Cardiff City. All those games are still scoreless. A late game sees West Ham take on Newcastle United. We keep you up to date with all the championship scores as well. We'd love you to get involved, as I say, on text on 53106, or just leave us a comment on Facebook, on Twitter, or on YouTube. We're going to give our preference. Are we giving our preference for what we think should be the Ireland team that starts
or we think
under Mick
will
McCarthy?
start?
Or we think is it the team? So this I meant to send this in after you sent me your teams. So is the team that you have selected, we'll get to them over the next little while, is it the team you think should be picked, or the team you think Mick McCarthy will pick?
I went with the latter anyway.
Oh no, I went with the one that I just thought I'd give it a bash, you know.
You're the Ireland manager.
I just thought I thought I'd be championship manager, like, and just give it a go. I don't think that'd be the team that Mick will pick. I did wonder, because you did put it up in a Johnny reply. I put out one of my decisions. Johnny was like, "Well, Mick won't do that." I was like, "Well, that's not the point of the whole thing." So anyway.
Anyways, we'll give them the little while. Stephen's going to be the judge of who's the manager. So we'll do that in a little while. We'll chat about Brendan Rodgers' decision to leave Celtic, loyalty, fraud, all of that.
He's hit back today, hasn't he?
He has.
Rodgers. He's really
used some bad language as well in doing so.
Profanities,
putting the Celtic supporters back in their place. Johnny's just itching to have a go at the Celtic supporters. I can see it. We'll chat as well about League of Ireland. If you were at a game last night, or if you have noticed anything from the first couple of weeks you want to let us know about, do get in touch. So we'll chat about all of that over the next little while. But let's talk about the North London derby first. It finished 1-1 at Wembley in that game between Spurs and Arsenal. A bad day at the office for Davinson Sanchez. He was at fault for the opener as Aaron Ramsey broke away to put Arsenal in front. Harry Kane, a controversial equaliser 15 minutes from time from the penalty spot. He was brought down, no question about that, I don't think, but he was offside from the initial free kick. And then a lot of drama in injury time. A penalty to Arsenal. Soft, you would say, as Aubameyang went down under the challenge of Sanchez. Aubameyang's penalty was saved by Hugo Lloris. It was a really poor penalty kick. And then right at the very end, a nasty challenge from Lucas Torreira, deservedly earned a red card for his tackle on Danny Rose. So 1-1 is how it finished. Still 4 points between Spurs and Arsenal. Let's hear from Harry Kane and Hugo Lloris.
Wait for that to explode, but there's so many twists and turns at the end of that game.
Yeah, no, we come out in the second half fighting and deserved to get back into the game, and then we put the pressure on. Good tackles, good aggression, good pressing, and it looked like we was going to go on and get the second. Obviously then they got a penalty at the end, and thankfully Hugo saved it, and it was the least we deserved.
That was the decisive moment of Hugo. Not just that, there's also Jan's clearance as well.
Yeah, I think his part of the game was a bit crazy at the end, and it could have been 2-1 for them or 2-1 for us, and finally the 1-1 is probably a good point for us, especially after the bad start we had in first half and this tough week.
You had a close view. Was it a penalty? It looked soft to us.
I don't know. Everything went so quick. Obviously, I will protect my defender always, as always, and so it's the decision of the referee you need to respect. And thanks for us, he didn't score.
Cool. And it's similarly a bit of controversy about your penalty as well. Definitely a push, according to the replay from Mustafi, but he might have been offside as well, Harry.
Well, there you go. It evens itself out throughout the season and throughout the game. So we've had a few this year not go away, and luckily we got one today.
You just needed something to change the momentum and the mood in the Spurs camp, didn't you, today?
Yeah, of course. 2 disappointing results in the last week, and it was a perfect game, a North London derby to kind of get back and show a bit of passion and show the fans that we're ready to fight for the rest of the season. And we did that, especially second half. I thought we stepped it out really well. So it's a point. Obviously, we wanted 3. But it stops the losing streak, and now we can focus on Dortmund on Tuesday, and then obviously Southampton before we have a little break.
What was missing in that first half? A little bit of creativity. It looked like they were outnumbering you in midfield as well.
Yeah, it was just we had the aggression and we was pressing, but they catched us on the counter attack a few times. Final ball, final delivery weren't quite right. They made a couple of good saves just before the end of the half. So it was one of them. We had to come out, fight it, and show that what we're made of, and thankfully we did.
Yeah, so Harry Kane gets another goal in a North London derby. A lot of speculation. First time really we've seen some proper speculation, it seems, about Harry Kane's future in the Telegraph today. It seems he's taken the results of the past week to heart. Very, very disappointed and upset with the results against Burnley. In particular, it seems the performance against Chelsea, and feelings within the club that maybe he will push for a move, not this summer, that he obviously wants to have the year at the new stadium first and check it all out, but that maybe in the summer of 2020 he may decide, if they haven't pushed on and won a trophy or contended for the title properly, he may leave.
Yeah, how old would he be then? 28 in 2020, what are you something like that?
Yeah.
Maybe that age. Yeah, it's funny, you saw towards the end of the game during the week that he was involved. You could see he was a bit fraught at the end of the game. Obviously the Chelsea game and an injury time, and it didn't quite boil over, but you could just see the frustration on his face at that point. And I suppose, he is the English striker of this generation, and there comes a time where he probably has boxes he wants to tick. So, I don't know. These stories come out. I think often, it suits people to get some of the stories, to get some of these stories out to plant the seed. I think it's an important clarification with the new stadium. All right, that's something that he's definitely going to be hanging around for. So it's not an immediate crisis by any means, but I think it's just sending a message, letting people know that he needs things to get better.
And I know my value. Stephen, I know the mood earlier in the season, and maybe even more so at the end of last season, when they certainly expected to be in the new stadium and didn't think they were going to go through what looks like the entire season at Wembley. The feeling was that Harry Kane, Spurs were fairly confident, was a lifer, that more than likely he would be one of these players that'll end up putting a statue up to him outside, that he was happy to commit his entire future to the club. Whereas Dele Alli was the one they were thinking, good World Cup, would come back, would give it this season in the new stadium, and maybe the one to go. Now, Dele Alli's obviously had a disappointing season through injury and just pure form. But from Harry Kane's point of view, if he's in the top 3 best strikers in the world, it's understandable that he's going to be thinking, does he want to end his career with no medals?
Yeah, I think I've spoken about this before, and with Harry, he's 25 now. He's been the best striker in the Premiership for the last 3 or 4 seasons. He scores goals every week. He's going to get to a point when he's going to think, right, when is my stock going to start to fall, and when am I not going to get that move to a team that's going to be pretty much guaranteed to me win me medals? And that's going to be the next season or two. So he's going to have to make a decision whether or not he will want to just stay at Tottenham if they're not going to progress and they're not going to, invest maybe in what they need just to get that title over the edge. And then also the comments coming out from Pochettino, him saying stuff like the teams doesn't have the mentality for another 10 years to win a title, that's going to be playing on his mind as well, because if Pochettino is discussing stuff like that in the media, which he never would have discussed before, is he thinking that his time is possibly coming to an end if he's not going to get the backing from the board to invest more in the club? So it's a tough time for Tottenham, and they need to make sure that they make a statement to try and hold on to Kane and Pochettino if they ever want to have a chance of winning the title.
It's impossible to know, lads, what's going through both Kane and Pochettino's minds, and we're all guilty of overreacting, and when they go presumably and qualify in midweek for the quarterfinals of the Champions League, we'll praise them again for their lack of resources, lack of spending power, and still been able to get into a Champions League quarterfinal. But the change in tone of Pochettino over the past week, he's suddenly looking going, well, I thought I was nailed on for the Manchester United job whenever I wanted it, and suddenly it looks as though Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to have that. So who knows when it comes up again. It may be in 18 months' time, it may be in 4 years' time, depending on how it goes. And nobody ever knows at Real Madrid what they're thinking as to, you assume Solari's probably going to go at the end of this season as well. Who do they bring in? Is that job gone? That actually football moves quite quickly, and maybe he's started to realise that over the past couple of months.
He did look like a bit last Saturday that he'd lost it a little bit after the game, and that may have kind of had a negative effect in terms of Spurs as well, because they've had a shocker of 7 days. We should have lost the game today, and you'd imagine Kane's comments are politically designed that Spurs know that they need to improve, because they do need to improve. Like we've spoken about in this season, that they've kind of been latching on, but ultimately they just didn't have enough in their squad to get through the season to really challenge for the title. Not that they've had a bad season, but you imagine that Kane is just using his clout there to say, I'm out of here unless we do, because it was an astonishing off-season when they brought in nobody.
I mean, it's just with the money that exists in the Premier League now, I know you can spin it to a positive angle and say, well, there's a certain stability there and they've built something there, but to not make a signing,
for 2 consecutive transfer windows. Nobody.
It's like an embargo has been placed on them that we don't know about, and
it's like when Dustin Johnson disappeared off the PGA Tour for 6 months. He's just taking a break.
Where are all these?
So you're saying that?
Where are all these tennis players pulling out? There's stuff that happens that makes you wonder. But yeah, what? I
hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, but is there a secret embargo that we don't know about that's been imposed in the background? I don't think so.
But you don't know so.
Well, I mean, I think they would come out to some degree, that type of thing. I think the football authorities need to make a statement to say we actually are being harsh on these things rather than having it under the carpet. But yeah, so I think as Stephen laid it out very, very fairly there, Kane has to reach a point where he looks at his age, his profile, his worth. I'd love to see him actually. You talk about Madrid and stuff. I'd love to see him try and do it sort of elsewhere. There was a real old school tradition of like the old English centre forwards or British centre forwards travelling.
But maybe he'd be talking to Gareth Bale and he realised he'd have to stay up for dinner till 10:30, and nobody wants that.
No, I'm sure. I don't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you wouldn't get your early nights in.
There's we can chat about it more in depth because the Clasico's obviously on tonight. There's obviously some sort of a PR battle going on between Gareth Bale and Real Madrid because they're really going for him. They're trying to take apart his reputation bit by bit, and actually you come away from at the end of it, he almost seems like a Michael Owen type figure, and that Michael Owen's main interest was horse racing. Gareth Bale's main interest seems to be golf. Yeah. And that football's a side.
You're always going to be sympathetic to him in this case.
So, I can understand. He can play the best courses in the world. He's got all the money.
He's probably listened to Golf Weekly in his spare time. He's got that much spare time going on.
Who doesn't? Yeah. But it does seem as though that there's a definite sense that Real Madrid are trying to put out there, well, this guy's just not professional.
Yeah. It seems a bit hard. I mean, I don't know. Like Bale, there always seemed to be a likeability about Bale, that when he came home to play for Wales. I think actually there was one time we were covering a Wales-Ireland match. There's been a lot of Wales-Ireland matches.
Well, he literally just signed for Real Madrid the week before, and even though he wasn't playing, he flew back to sit on the bench.
But even he was sort of having coffee or around the hotel with his mates from home and stuff like that. So I mean, at the same time, you hear stories and like you're trying to figure out what's spin, as you say, and what's reality. Initially it seemed like he was making an effort to integrate, and the way it's been portrayed now, it's as though he's this guy who's coming over and hasn't even made an effort, which seems a little bit disappointing if that's the case. But I mean, it's a heavily politicised club. I mean, he's had the Ronaldo thing. You assume when he went, he might come to the fore to some degree, but obviously there's a completely other ball game going on there, as you say.
We've had some goals in the Premier League. Let's go to Molineux, where there's no Matt Doherty or Harry Arter in the starting teams for Wolves and Cardiff, but there has been a goal. Let's hear about it.
It's Wolves 1, Cardiff 0 against the run of play. Cardiff have had the better of the opening stages here, but on a breakaway, Diego Jota has finished off a lovely move to put Wolves 1 goal ahead. It's Wolves 1, Cardiff 0.
There's also been a goal at Turf Moor. Burnley against Crystal Palace. Watching this one is Adam Drury.
Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1, and it's an own goal from Phil Bardsley that's made the difference and broken the deadlock. It came about from the work of Wilfred Zaha, who burst into the box, played the ball down to the left-hand side. It was turned back into the 6-yard box by Jeffrey Schlupp, and Phil Bardsley couldn't quite adjust his feet and turn the ball from 4 yards out past his own goalkeeper. It's Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1.
I should really apologise to people who are watching online. When we went to the Harry Kane, Hugo Lloris interview, usually we go to a picture of the people that have been interviewed, but we didn't. We just kept the camera on us, and I had a nice little bit of my lunch here.
Oh, yeah.
Nice little bit of it. So apologies for anyone who had to watch. This is a rice ball that is full of some sort of vegetables and beans.
This is part of your healthy eating that you spoke about in the Irish Examiner earlier this year.
Exactly that. You can find out more. Find out more about it.
I stumbled across it. I stumbled across it.
Waited for the appropriate moment to bring it up.
I stumbled across it the other day. I was like, Nathan, I had no idea that you were interviewed as like, hey, listen.
I don't think. No, I think they like to get a.
Finishing it, though.
I think. Well, not right now. I'm not. I'm going to wait till the ads.
You've turned around your
Blazing Salads. I'm going to give them the free plug. Do you go to Blazing Salads just down the road from us here, Central Dublin? No.
It's good to see your profile.
No, I think the Examiner want to do a wide range of people, so I'd say they do every second week somebody who's actually fit and healthy, and then they came to me and were like, there are other lifestyles.
A humble brag going on here.
There are other lifestyles out there.
Who wants a rice ball, to be honest? Like, at least we got rice into the show again, though. Anyway.
Oh, dear God, Johnny. No goals between Bournemouth and Manchester City, though City are well on top, dominating possession, dominating the chances, but no goals so far. 20 minutes gone in that game. Also still scoreless between Manchester United and Southampton, and in the game between Brighton and Huddersfield. Conor Hourihane has scored for Aston Villa to give them the lead against Derby County. Norwich are 1-0 up away against Millwall, and Stoke have taken a 1-0 lead against Martin O'Neill's Nottingham Forest, and Rotherham 1-0 up at home against Blackburn. They are the scores in the Championship. But O'Callaghan has joined us in studio. Yeah. How are you?
Good, yeah.
What else is happening?
Well, away from the Premier League, you've got Celtic against Hibernian. It's the first time Neil Lennon will have come up against Hibs since leaving the club 4 weeks ago under a bit of a cloud. Athlone Town here at home look to maintain their 100% start to the new SSC Airtricity League First Division season this evening. The Midlanders are away to Cove Ramblers. Drogheda, who beat Cork on the opening night, they go to Longford. The Leinster head coach, Leo Cullen, says there's nothing to announce on the future of Jack McGrath, having fallen behind Cian Healy at the Province. Reports this week have linked the Loosehead Lions prop with a move to Ulster this summer, but Cullen was quite evasive when he was asked about it last night. On the pitch, Connacht are hosting Ospreys in a crucial game in the race for the playoff places in the Guinness Pro 14. Victory for Connacht could see them go up to third place in Conference A. Centre Tom Farrell has scored an early try there for the Westerners. They lead 13 points to 5. Farrell was also out doing some training with the Irish team in Italy last week. Kyle Godwin has kicked 8 points for Connacht as well. At 5 p.m, the Conference A table toppers Munster, they're away to the Scarlets. There was no joy for the Irish sprinters in this morning's 60 metres heats at the European Indoor Athletics Championships. National champion Molly Scott was closest to qualifying, 0.03 of a second off, with the IT Carlow student clocking 6.43 in her heat in Glasgow. Limerick's Ciara Neville was forced to withdraw after being struck down by illness this morning. Donegal's Mark English, previously a medalist at the European Indoors, is in the 800 metres semi-finals later this evening. It's an evening of derbies ahead in the Allianz National Football League. High-flying Mayo, they host their neighbours Galway in Division 1 at Castlebar. Mayo
I like your positivity. Most people would say Mayo looking to bounce back from that horrible
last week.
But you're saying high-flying Mayo. Yeah, that's what I like.
Athlone Town are unbeaten as well. So
there you go. One win from one is, I think, an unbeaten run. 100% start. Look, Johnny, you wait a year for a win. You get the chance to fling them up ever so slightly. Meanwhile, in the other games in Division 1, Tyrone, they go up against Cavan in an Ulster derby at Healy Park. Cavan needing the points after getting the win last week. Struggling Cork, they face Tipperary at Temple Stadium in Division 2. And Donegal welcome Armagh to Ballybuffet. Donegal and Armagh just 2 points off the top of the table there. And finally, Ireland's second one-day international against Afghanistan in the cricket has been rained off. No further play was possible. Afghanistan had reached 250 for 7 wickets a couple of hours ago from 48 overs in the match in India, but then the rain came in and Ireland must now wait until Tuesday's third game if they're to square the series.
Thanks for that, Will. So as Ireland prepare for their penultimate Guinness Six Nations clash against France at the Aviva Stadium, official partner Dove Men Plus Care is giving you the chance to be part of the captain's run. You can join the IRFU kitman John Moran as he prepares for the dressing room for the Irish team ahead of their final training session before the big game. With thanks to Dove Men Plus Care, the winner will also receive a pair of tickets to go see Ireland take on Le Bleu at the Aviva Stadium the following day. To be with a chance of winning, simply tweet us at @OffTheBall with a photo of you wearing your favourite rugby kit using the hashtag TeamCare. Terms and conditions apply. The winner must be over 18.
Johnny's just
and
looking
will
up
be
there.
welcome to bring a guest along on the day. What have you got to say about that, Johnny?
I don't have any rugby jerseys.
Do you not?
No.
What's your Darren Cleary came in here with some collection of jerseys during the week that unlike anything I've ever seen before.
He had a wardrobe full
what
of Irish
sport?
jerseys.
Soccer, mate. Well, no, I think every sport, but
Yeah, it was mainly Irish soccer jerseys.
He has about 20 Irish soccer jerseys, match worn.
ones.
Lovely.
Did he get them legally?
I presume so. Wait a second, we used to have a load of them in here. They suddenly disappeared.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
All right, so check out hashtag Team Care there if you want to see what other people are doing with their entries and get yours in now. So still Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0, and no goals between Manchester United and Southampton. But there's been a second goal in the game at Molineux, Wolves against Cardiff. Let's hear about this from Clive Edwards.
It's Wolves 2, Cardiff 0. Jimenez has got Wolves second after just 17 minutes. In fact, they've got 2 goals in 2 minutes. Cardiff were easily the better side for the opening quarter of an hour. Then with their first attack, Wolves scored. With their second attack, they got their second. It's Jimenez who's put Wolves 2 goals ahead.
Mentioned this a couple of weeks ago that actually Raúl Jimenez has ended up having a very, very good season for Wolves. He scored 11 goals now in the Premier League. It seems they've spent the first 3 or 4 months talking about replacing him, or that they needed to replace him for the amount of possession, the amount of chances they created. But
yeah,
got a bit about him.
I'm at the stage where I'm very interested how Wolves do next season because like they've done well this year. I mean, like they were never going to go down. I mean, like on resources and everything, they're well able to compete. But they still throw in the odd one. You know, the game during the week, they lose.
They've lost twice to Huddersfield.
Yeah, and I think that's one of these things that obviously like the very top teams, there's that scrutiny all the time. Wolves seem like, you know, they're having a good season, but I don't know. You wouldn't necessarily trust them. Actually, the record against the better teams, as been discussed, is actually very good. So, what's the next stage for them? I know they've tied some of their players like Doherty and Connor Cody and some of them down to longer term deals. But do they have the push to go on? Because I mean, that's actually a great club, really good support and a lot of elements there that would make you confident that they could go well. But
does a lot not depend on George Mendes and how many of his players he's willing to bring to the club? Because to be honest, at the start of the season, I thought maybe this would be a one-season thing whereby Diogo Jota, Ruben Neves would go and prove that they can do it in the Premier League, and they'd end up at Manchester City or Chelsea this summer, and he'd make his profit, and then they'd try and bring through the next crop of young Portuguese players. But the mood and everything you're hearing from Wolves seems to be that they're going to stay and that they're going to try to add to that.
Yeah.
So he has his pick of young Portuguese players.
He can bring in top quality players, and I mean, you do chat to people who seem to have an awareness of how the Mendes thing works, and I mean, it can change. You know, it can change quickly, and a player can be instructed to move at a given point, and then all of a sudden all the best laid plans can go a particular way, and Wolves have to have that concern, you know, that but they've benefited from this relationship, so they can't necessarily, they're going to have to, this is what they've got themselves into with their advisor, of course. It's not
James Rodriguez is a George Mendes client.
Yeah, I mean, he could do a job for them, you know.
Cristiano Ronaldo,
probably ambitious.
You think?
Probably ambitious.
Angel Di Maria,
I'd say ambitious.
These are all ambitious, is what you're telling me.
Well, no.
Diego Costa. You'd love to see a bit of Diego Costa back in the Premier League.
Wolves, yeah. The new Steve Bull, as they call him.
The most likely one I think they were talking about was Andre Silva.
Yeah.
Potentially as the striker to come through. Renato Sanchez is another one of his clients who obviously failed massively, but still quite young.
He's still got loads of time. I mean, he failed massively at Swansea, but I mean, he looked like a terrific player when he was younger. But obviously, I mean, it just didn't happen for him. But they are a club that, look, when people were talking about Matt Doherty's future and where should he go if he was going to leave Wolves, but I mean, of the rest, I mean, I know Everton have spent a lot and not really made the breakthrough, but Wolves, with the connections that they do have, are a club that could think about going that way. I mean, obviously, you know, this almost unintentionally brings us into Brendan Rodgers territory in the sense of like what potential do those mid-table clubs have and what opportunities do they offer in terms of getting to the next level, because obviously a lot of chat about Leicester during the week and the profile of some of their young players and actually how they've got a great opportunity, but there's still a huge question mark over how much you really have to spend to break into that category.
let's get an update from the Vitality Stadium. Then Bournemouth against Manchester City. Alan Lewis.
Still Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0, but it's still all Manchester City in this first half. They've had the best chance of the game so far as well. Kevin De Bruyne cutting the ball back from the right-hand touchline for David Silva, who missed the target from just 10 yards out. Before that, Otamendi's header was well wide of goal, but the game is being played almost exclusively in the Bournemouth half. They can hardly get the ball over the halfway line, and you do feel it's still just a matter of when rather than if Manchester City will take the lead in this one. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0.
I was at the Etihad on Wednesday night for City's game against West Ham, and this seems to be following a similar-ish pattern in that City absolutely dominated possession. West Ham never looked like they wanted to win the game. They were just happy to somehow fluke a 0-0 draw if they could do that. But as the game wore on, City got a little bit more sloppy, sort of ran out ideas a little bit. And Bournemouth have managed to survive the first half an hour.
They've had a chance, really. One good chance in the half hour. One very good chance.
Bournemouth defended dreadfully during the week against Arsenal. So I suppose there's a reaction to that, and maybe this is what we're seeing from them to some degree, steadying the ship. But you would have thought the way Bournemouth defended during the week, City wouldn't have that many problems today.
A point would be enough to put City back top of the Premier League, but it would mean that if Liverpool were to win at Goodison Park in the derby tomorrow, they'd be then 3 clear. So obviously every game absolutely crucial in the title race. We'll have that game live on Off the Ball tomorrow. It's a 4:15 start at Goodison Park. Myself and Kev will be at that. First up, we have live commentary of Fulham against Chelsea. Was that Otamendi with a overhead kick from the edge of the area,
ambitious,
just over the top?
Wasn't bad technique, in fairness.
No, it was very
at
good.
all.
Just a couple of yards over the
not if
top of the crossbar. So there's been a goal at Old Trafford, which we'll get to in a couple of minutes' time. We have it there now, though. Let's go and hear about this goal. Manchester United against Southampton. Darren Stanich.
Manchester United 0, Southampton 1. Southampton starting to dominate the game, and they've got their reward. A heck of a strike from Jan Valery, 25 yards out. Complete stunner on the right side of the area. De Gea will be disappointed he didn't get to it and keep it out. Manchester United have let Southampton into the game. Scott McTominay went down injured. There was a bit of a delay. Since then, Southampton have got their act together and they have the lead at Old Trafford. It's Manchester United 0, Southampton 1.
Yeah, quite a surprise at Old Trafford. Jan Valery with a cracker to give Southampton the lead against Manchester United, who haven't lost a game, remember, in the Premier League under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and the draw in the North London derby means that United would go back into the top 4 with a win in that. So Wolves 2-0 up against Cardiff, United 1-0 down at home against Southampton, Palace 1-0 up away against Burnley, scoreless between Brighton and Huddersfield, and also no goals so far between Bournemouth and Manchester City. 53106 is the text number. If you want to get in touch, you can leave a comment on any of our social channels. Stephen Kelly is on the line, Dan and Johnny are in studio, and we are going to talk about potential Ireland teams for the opening games against Gibraltar and Georgia, because Mick McCarthy will name his squad on Thursday. Any indication, is this going to be a 25-man squad or a 40-man squad?
I don't think he's going to do the 40-man thing anyway. No. The early suggestions were we won't see that, but I don't know. This could always change by the time we get to Thursday, and there is a load of names. I suppose you're going to have a couple of injury doubts that you might want to leave a door open for, say, James McCarthy or people.
Does he bring him in and just see how he is? Yeah, so we'll find out about that. So let's have a look at the teams then. I think we're going to start with mine, which will be the most well thought out, well informed of the 3. Have we got it? Can't even remember what I picked. Oh, what a team. This is a team to take on the world.
3 at the back.
3 at the back. Play to our strengths. Darren Randolph in goal. So my team is Darren Randolph in goal. Back 3 of Seamus Coleman, Shane Duffy and Kieran Clark. 5-man midfield with Doherty and McLean as the wing backs. Then Brady, Hendrick and O'Dowda.
This is not going to be the team.
And then
but Johnny, this isn't
Alan Brown playing just behind Shoney Maguire.
Let's just clarify. Sorry, is it the team you'd pick or the team?
Well, I think it's the team.
It's up in the air.
I thought it was the team you'd pick now.
I think it's the team I would pick. Mick has suggested he's not going to play 3 at the back, which would obviously then rule out my potential selection.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm saying it is the team I would pick is that I think you have to play Coleman and Doherty together. I think both of them should be out in that right wing together.
Well, there's going to be a big dilemma with this, because the comments from I wasn't at the press conference, but he was clearly praising Doherty as the best right back in the league, and
that was an event in Wolves. That wasn't at the press conference during the week.
Yeah, but okay, if Doherty's the best right back in the league, And he said right back in the league, didn't he?
No, I think he said right wing back. There was a deceptive headline that said right back, but he actually said right wing back in the piece.
So you reckon 4-5-1 with both of them? Because it's not going to happen otherwise.
It wasn't that the thing during the week, but I did read mixed quotes, and Alec, he was leaving himself wiggle room for everything he said. He did say that he wouldn't play Doherty in a 4-3-3. He said in a 4-4-2 it would be better to play him on the right side of midfield, but it depends if you think of it as a 4-3-3 going to be a real attacking one where the three are actually like Preston, where like the two wingers are attacking, or is it a 4-5-1 with a slightly different type of story.
Putting together the team, though, it did strike me that he does have, I'm going to say, options, but he does have a lot of decisions to make in terms of. I like Kieran Clark as a defender, but he's not playing every week for Newcastle. Like John Egan, Kevin Long are obviously contenders, but in midfield in particular, because James McCarthy isn't fit, who is that natural central midfielder? Like,
well, O'Dowd is
it Harry Arter?
Well, O'Dowd is not going to be playing in the central midfield, I would have thought. And where do you fit Brady in?
No, they're playing either side of it. I'm going to have Robbie Brady as a creative, just, you know.
Does Robbie Brady have that in him, though? Do you know, really? As a
we're going to trust
Robbie
him against
Brady's played everywhere.
Yeah.
He's played everywhere, Robbie Brady, really.
I had to fit him in somewhere, but...
Brady, but his set pieces and stuff, Brady will be in the team. I actually wondered about McLean. I mean, I've put him on my side as well, but I can see an argument where he could be in a small bit of bother if you're having that discussion about Brady, in terms of whether you play Doherty in midfield. That's why I took Doherty out in midfield, just to try and make room for...
Have you just gotten a text here to say that will not be the team? Or
No, I've just, looking back at my text, I'm like, was that the team I picked? Let's have... Who's next then? So mine was very well thought out.
Johnny Ward's isn't even the team he wants to pick.
So he thinks it's the team Mick will pick.
This is Johnny Ward's.
Dan McDonald's team is, again, we all go with Darren Randolph in goal. I think that's beyond question at this stage.
4-2-3-1.
A 4-2-3-1 from Dan. His back four is Coleman, Duffy, Egan and Doherty at left back. That's the best right back / attacking right back.
I had to get him in the side.
Alan Brown and Jeff Hendrick playing as sort of the two central midfielders.
See, the three in the middle could rotate.
Okay. Robbie Brady, Alan Brown, Jeff Hendrick.
On the screen, it's very rigid for, but I think Brown, Hendrick and Robbie Brady is a midfield three. I mean, Brown is so effective getting forward, and then McLean on one side, O'Dowd on the other, and Maguire through the middle. Of course, we are playing Gibraltar. So, I mean, you can get away with it.
Well, that was part of my thinking. We're going all out attack. We actually have only one difference in our selection, I think, which is that
John Egan.
And I have Kieran Clark. We have a different formation, but aside from that,
same
10 of the 11.
Oh, right, okay.
All right, that's a good
I think
selection.
Dan's will be closer than yours in terms of the first game. I think that'll be fairly close.
Well, let's go and get Johnny's team then.
This isn't Johnny's team. This is Johnny's.
So this is what Johnny thinks Mick McCarthy's going to do.
This wouldn't be far off, though. What I would pick...
Randolph in goal again.
Randolph in goal. Obviously, the whole team, in a way, or at least the back four, is built around Duffy.
What's your ethos, Johnny, with this team?
It's my ethos.
What's your philosophy?
Philosophy is to try to get through the group in whatever way possible. In terms of how we're going to play.
He's become a football manager within.
I'm not a McLean.
Instantly.
I'm not really a McLean fan, but he mentioned Stevens again.
He likes Stevens. So, if I was down who he will, I think Stevens is really in a shout. The Sheffield United lads, Stevens, Egan and McGoldrick are all very much in contention.
The controversial
Maguire is by no means a cert.
And another player who's by no means a cert is probably Alan Brown, who we all have in, who's played very little international football, but you're sort of assuming on his club
he kind of has to play.
Brown in behind Maguire, as you had him. I think that's.
But in my team's obviously notable that James Coleman isn't playing, but I don't think I think he'd be reluctant to play Doherty left back. I think the key thing with my team here is that McLean on the wing will work very hard and he'll get back. Brady is there primarily for his...
team talk now.
Brady's there primarily for his set-piece ability. But O'Dowd is the...
Who's your number 6? Alan Brown's your number 6, is he? You're
I think Hendrick will sit and...
See, I think that's the one key selection that probably unlocks everything else, is who is the... Now, I know it's Gibraltar and Georgia, and you don't need a holding midfielder again.
If McCarthy was fit,
but that's what I mean. So suddenly, if McCarthy's fit, he plays there. If he doesn't, are you even against Georgia? Are you going to go in without a? Are you going to play Jeff Hendrick as your sitting midfield player?
Well, Hendrick's played every position for it. And
we just don't have the question of that position.
Johnny's team, by the way, is Doherty right back, Stevens left back, Clark and Duffy in the middle of the defence. The midfield three then of Brady, Brown and Hendrick, McLean left, O'Dowda right and Maguire up front.
The key point of this team, which I actually think would work, is O'Dowda and Doherty as a right wing combination, because I think O'Dowda will be able to cut in. Doherty will make a lot of overlapping runs because he's almost like a winger much of the time, and I think that could be very exciting, because I think O'Dowda is really accomplished player who
I think it is absolute insanity that Seamus Coleman is not in your team.
Why?
Yeah, I do as well, to be honest.
If Seamus Coleman was playing in the Championship, like a lot of those players are, he'd be the best right back in the Championship by a country mile.
We've a very good right back.
He's the player who's, well, Matt Doherty's at a similar level now because of the season Wolves have had.
He doesn't play right back for his club. If you're playing a back four, if you're playing wing backs, I think there's a real discussion on what you do. But if you're playing a back four,
but you want to fit. If you want to fit,
how many games has Matt Doherty played at Premier League level at right back?
I'd say very few.
In a back four. So that has to be a consideration. Like, I mean, but if you're particularly good, like Stevens and Doherty, say, and I think they're both of them are having really good seasons. But they're having seasons at wing backs, and their strength is going forward. If you're going to play them in a team at left back and right back, then you want to be having a pretty good, solid midfield base that's going to mind the house.
Well, you have McLean on the left; he'll do a lot of work defensively. But I think O'Dowda should be in the team.
I think O'Dowda is. I just think Coleman has to be in the team.
I just don't see.
Let's get the professional verdict here.
Stephen's there. Excuse me, hello lads. Some of us played football here.
141 Premier League games. Stop talking rubbish, please. Just let him have a say.
I think Coleman's starting. I don't think you can say he's not going to start. Seamus Coleman's going to play for Ireland's captain. He's the best right back. He's going to play. If you're playing a 4 or 4-5-1 or 4-5-2, 4-4-2, whatever it's going to be, Coleman's going to play. It's just how do you get Doherty into the team, which is an issue because he's probably the most informed player at the moment that we have, and you want him to play. So where do you play him? That's the big question. I'd play him left back, but I think he's wasted left back. He's a wing back, which is his best position. So it's very hard to try and get him into the team, and you need to put him in. So this is the headache Mick's going to have.
Would you play him right midfield?
Yeah, it's different. So the thing is, as a wing back, you're always running into the space. So you're not giving the ball wing and expected to take people on, which Doherty does very well. But if you're able to make very good runs and have people find you in good areas, it's a very different position. Like a winger is expected to give the ball to him and you expect him to get players and put cross in and be on the far post and be tricky. Doherty runs into great positions and he gets himself in great positions because he's very energetic and he makes really, really decisive and very good runs. So as a winger, it's a different position, and even though wing back, it's still it's very different. I've played wing back before, and it's a very different position. And then if you go on the wing again, it's harder. So it's just trying to get him into the squad. I think possibly a three at the back might suit us for the personnel that we have, but it's such a difficult decision for Mick.
We're obviously as well partly judging this, and largely judging this on club form and what we've seen on them so far this season. And playing for Ireland is a very different experience. Certainly for someone like Matt Doherty, the Wolves' possession style of football, he's got Ruben Neves and João Moutinho inside him. He gives them that ball. He knows they're going to keep hold of it. He can make his run forward and he's not going to be caught out of position. It is a very different thing for a lot of these players when they come to Ireland, where unless things change dramatically under Mick McCarthy, it's hard to see us having dominating possession against anybody but Gibraltar.
Definitely not. But if you're talking about Doherty and he's the best right wing back in the league, you have to appreciate fullbacks aren't as important as they were because wingers are effectively gone out of the game. So an awful lot of it is just you have to be dynamic going forward. We're going to have
fullbacks weren't as important as they were.
Fullbacks are not as important defensively because wingers are gone. Like, there are no wingers anymore. So you have to defend there are no wingers basically anymore. The game's completely changed. Everyone's playing one up top. It's all about compressed throughout the middle of the pitch.
What's your point then about fullbacks?
Fullbacks are very important.
That their defensive attributes aren't as important as their attacking.
I don't think their defensive attributes are as important as they used to be because they're not man on man against a winger like they used to be.
Is that also the case in international football?
Oh yeah, but you're still going to get a lot. Like, nearly everyone is probably going to play one up top, and that'll mean you might have wingers, but everyone is basically compressed into the middle with one up top, one off him, and like the days of 4-4-2 are gone. I think Doherty and Coleman could well play with Doherty on the right, but my problem then is where does O'Dowda play? Because I think even though he's an excellent left foot, I think he's very effective coming in off the right, and I don't really see him playing in the middle. And then if he plays in the left, where does McLean fit in? And I don't see McLean as a guaranteed starter by any means.
I suppose, I mean, the thing is, I know McCarthy was in Gibraltar this week. I think he's a bit concerned about the pitch there. No, he is a bit concerned. He is concerned about the pitch there, and I think more so the concern about the pitch isn't so much the pitch and the impact on the Gibraltar game, but also just the impact on players in terms of a turnaround for playing a game.
So you might actually rest players
3 days later. So I actually think, so the debate we're having here is a broader debate, obviously, about the 11 you pick rather than getting into the nuts and bolts of each game. But I think maybe in terms of getting answers to questions in the short term about where he goes, you might actually just see him pick 2 very different teams for 2 different games this time. So it may not actually answer somebody's questions. And actually, it's when we go to Denmark on June the 7th away, that's when you get a proper insight. And now there's also a home game against Georgia, where Georgia have completely dominated possession against Ireland previously, so you want to see how you address that. And I think that's the type of game where you can see a Brady, Hendrick, if McCarthy's around in the middle, and guys who in the past have maybe shown they can do things in that department. But sort of the Gibraltar game, you could end up with something very different. I mean, there is. I mean, as Stephen says, there's a strong argument for wing backs with the fact that you can. It's a way you can fit
play to your strengths.
Doherty, Stevens into the team, but you have to get Coleman to be right of a back. I think Mickey even said during the week that I might just have to read over the quotes, that even Doherty on the right of a back three wouldn't phase him.
That would be very odd.
As a concept leader, I mean, the game would be completely ahead of him then, and stepping out onto it. But I might just check those quotes again.
No, there was definitely, he. I think he spoke about potentially he could do either or.
Right.
But that if you played Matt Doherty on the back of a right three, you're obviously losing his best qualities, whereas maybe Coleman will be more.
I think Coleman, you can see why, as Coleman gets older, why it could work for him.
Just an update on the scores in the Premier League. Still scoreless between Bournemouth and Manchester City, and a worry for City. It looks as though Kevin De Bruyne is going off injured just before half time. He's obviously had an injury-plagued season. He's talking to Pep Guardiola at the moment. Manchester United still 1-0 down at home against Southampton. Palace 1-0 up away against Burnley. It's scoreless between Brighton and Huddersfield, and Wolves, with Matt Doherty on the bench, are 2-0 up against Cardiff. We'll take a very quick break.
Shane Keegan's texted in his team. I know he's fairly regular on the show. He's gone for a 3-4-2-1.
Well, I'll tell you what, save it for after the ads, Johnny.
Off the ball on News Talk.
I approve of breastfeeding in public. I think there's nothing wrong with it. But, if you catch the eye of someone breastfeeding, it's very hard to get that approval across. It's just a nod of the head, just really.
Thumbs up. I thought what a better sanction might have been would be to be a hurling goalie for a week.
And work in a bank?
Hear the full You Couldn't Make It Up podcast
at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app.
In partnership with Tesco.
Ever since Liam pre-ordered the new Samsung Galaxy S10 with freedom from Harvey Norman, his feet haven't touched the ground. Quite literally, he's currently floating 300 feet in the air.
I'm free!
That's what happens when you're free from a contract. Free to pick your own network and free to spread your payments. Yep, Liam is finally free. Pre-order the new Samsung Galaxy S10 with freedom from Harvey Norman and claim a pair of wireless Galaxy Buds. T's and C's apply. See in store or online for details.
Go! The excitement builds. A new era begins as the Republic of Ireland take on Georgia in a crucial UEFA European qualifier, Tuesday, March 26th at the Aviva Stadium. Come show your support for Mick McCarthy's first home game back in charge, as the boys in green look to qualify for Euro 2020. The Republic of Ireland versus Georgia, March 26th, Aviva Stadium, kickoff 7:45 p.m. Get your tickets now from just €35 at ticketmaster.ie. Booking fee applies.
With 0% finance on our Seed, Stonic and Sportage models, you know you'll get an unbeatable deal at your local Kia dealer. But as well as great finance deals, you'll get something else as well. The reassurance of knowing that wherever the next 7 years bring you, Kia has you covered. The Kia 7-year warranty, quality redefined. For more, visit kia.com. Lending criteria and terms and conditions apply.
Simple ways to surprise yourself. Sleeping through your morning alarm.
Oh no!
Leaving an upturned plug beside your bed. Not turning on the hot water. Or winning up to €500,000 instantly on the new all-cash scratch cards.
Introducing the new all-cash scratch cards from the National Lottery. Now with even more chances to win. Pick them up in-store today and surprise yourself. Play responsibly, play for fun.
Swap the boring everyday for a last-minute getaway with Aer Lingus. Grab a spring bargain to Europe from as little as $29.99. One way including taxes and charges. From the canals of Amsterdam to the cafes of Paris, the bustle of Lisbon to the beaches of the Canary Islands, with great deals to top destinations across Europe. So what are you waiting for? Give yourself something to look forward to this spring with a great value break. Smart books a spring bargain now. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
Hi, I'm Stuart Martin, SuperValu store owner. All things considered, SuperValu is the place to fill your trolley with great offers like SuperValu fresh Irish leg of lamb, half price. Buy one pancake mix and one spread for only €4. And buy any 6 bottles of wine and save €10. All things considered, it's SuperValu. Enjoy alcohol responsibly.
I've been head of security for my family 35 years. Dog years, yeah. I deal with all the major threats, loud noises, postmen. AA Home Insurance takes care of the rest, house and contents. But that's just a backup. I've totally got this. I've got a nose for trouble. And bacon.
With AA Home Insurance, you can claim up to €3,000 without losing your no claims discount. Go to the AA.ie. Who's got clever home insurance? Covers one claim in any consecutive 3-year period. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. AA Ireland Limited Trading as AA Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Okay, so you're off to Dublin, maybe for an Aviva Stadium event, a concert or a show at the 3 Arena, RDS or Bord Gosh. You'll be needing a great place to stay, a place that's close to the entertainment and just minutes from Dublin city centre. A place with beautiful modern rooms, great bar and restaurant, a place you can book online and get the guaranteed best rates and offers direct. Well, thank goodness there's the Sandymount Hotel. Visit sandymounthotel.ie for details and bookings.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, welcome back to Saturdays Off the Ball. Nathan, Dan and Johnny in studio. Stephen Kelly on the line as well. Connacht leading Ospreys 34-5 at half-time. A good weekend out west, Johnny?
Yeah, great win for Galway United last night. Beat Wexford 4-0 in the rain in Ferrycarry Park. And things are looking... I mean, I was on here with Ivan Yates, 2 nights ago, trying to defend the League of Ireland. But
last night, wasn't it?
Last night rather even. It's been a mad week.
It probably feels like it was 2 nights ago.
The Cheltenham preview circuit. He's on to the, Johnny's going to be a diminished force now with the Cheltenham preview
Galway United's team.
His banter is just like you're running low on it.
Galway United's team for the first 2 games. Most of the team is under 21. They're lads from Corofin, Moycullen, Portumna, Galway City. Playing for Galway United, Maurice Nugent from Clare scored last night. Basically, they're all from either Galway or very near it. They're all young guys, wouldn't be earning a lot of money. Over 2,000 at the game last week and playing really good football. And everything's very positive and, of course, managed by a Mayo man, Alan Murphy.
We'll chat a bit more about the League of Ireland after 4 o'clock, but let's get the half-times from the Premier League. We'll start at Turf Moor. Burnley against Crystal Palace. Watching this one is Adam Drury.
Bardsley's unfortunate own goal gives Crystal Palace a 1-0 lead over Burnley at half-time. The goal came in the 15th minute when Jeffrey Schlupp redirected a Wilfred Zaha cross into the path of Bardsley, who couldn't adjust his feet and blasted past his own keeper 4 yards out. It's the only effort Palace have had on target. Burnley have looked the more threatening of the 2 teams, but they've laboured to create meaningful chances for their strikers. Half-time at Turf Moor, it's Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1.
Next up to Old Trafford, where Manchester United looking to extend their unbeaten run under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They're taking on a Southampton side just outside the relegation zone. It could really only go one way, couldn't it? Darren Stanich.
Manchester United 0, Southampton 1. United should have been 2 up after 4 minutes. Lukaku denied twice by Gunn. Very good saves. But then as the half wore on, the Saints gained confidence, took the lead. A stunning strike by Jan Valery on 25 minutes. 25 yards out. De Gea really should have done better. United responded. A goal-mouth scramble on 33. Shaw's cross missed Rashford and Lukaku. Pereira's flying cross should have been brought the equaliser, but Lukaku headed over. Smalling also wide with a header. Saints happy to waste time here. They lead. United 0, Southampton 1.
So could it be a very, very bad day for the Manchester clubs? It's not going their way so far. Let's go to the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth against Manchester City and Alan Lewis.
0 Manchester City 0, but City completely dominant in this first half. Bournemouth playing 5 at the back and defending for their lives at times. In terms of chances, well, David Silva should have done better from close range. Nicolas Otamendi went close with a spectacular overhead kick from 18 yards out, and Raheem Sterling's shot from distance was just wide of the post. One negative for City, Kevin De Bruyne has gone off injured. He's been replaced by Riyad Mahrez. Bournemouth haven't been able to make an effort on goal. You wonder if they can hold out like this for another 45 minutes. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0.
Yeah, Liverpool fans will be keeping a very close eye on that over the next hour or so. We'll keep you right up to date with it. Let's go to the Amex Stadium next then. Brighton against Huddersfield. Brighton need some points. Mike Lawrence.
Brighton 0, Huddersfield Town 0. The first 45 minutes summing up why these two teams are down at the wrong end of the table. Very bitty, stop-start. You have to give Huddersfield some credit for frustrating the Brighton forwards, but it's not been pretty to watch. The home side had the best chance to break the deadlock on 38 minutes when Ali Jahanbakhsh made a run down the left, cut inside and his shot rattled the crossbar. Alex Pritchard had a long-range effort at the other end, which stung the palms of Brighton keeper Matt Ryan. But it's half-time, Brighton 0, Huddersfield Town 0.
And finally to Molineux, where Wolves are well on top at home against relegation-threatened Cardiff City. Watching this one is Clive Edwards.
Half-time, it's Wolves 2, Cardiff 0. 2 goals in 2 minutes for Wolves. The first on the quarter-hour mark, Jota. The second in the 17th minute, Jimenez. Both excellent goals. Lovely, fast passing football by Wolverhampton Wanderers. After quite a shaky start, Cardiff dominated for the opening minutes, and they've had a decent effort of Cardiff just on the stroke of half-time. But in between times, Wolves have looked by far the better team. Half-time, it's Wolves 2, Cardiff 0.
We talk a lot about the dynamic of the title race and the pressure that's on Liverpool, and Raheem Sterling was doing an interview this week saying, remember the title race I was involved with Liverpool, it's very different than Manchester City. There's way more pressure on the players. It's far more difficult to deal with. He's right, because if Liverpool were playing like Manchester City are playing today and played like Wednesday night, as Liverpool did a fortnight ago, everyone's questioning their mentality.
Yeah.
City come away from this with a 1-0 win. It's how good teams do it in title races. Yeah, grind it out.
That's not really how City are playing though at the moment, and there's been a little bit of a theme in the last sort of couple of months that if you literally just park the bus against City, I wouldn't be at all convinced they're going to win this game at the moment. They haven't really had that many chances, and you can see, you know, Bournemouth could nick one on the break. Funnily enough, neither side is really playing all that well at the moment. Like Liverpool they're having a patchy 2019. Salah's not really playing that well. Firmino's kind of a little bit in and out with injuries as well, and City don't convince me either. De Bruyne has had a completely abortive
City have turned it on in like 30-40 minute spells where they
generally come flying out of the blocks. Stephen, on that, because as I was saying, I was at the game against West Ham, and just the way the fixtures have worked this season watching the City, most of the City games I've been commentating on have been against the other top 5 or top 6 teams who don't generally just sit back and defend. And I was watching West Ham for the first 20 minutes thinking, this is embarrassing from Pellegrini what he's doing, but actually they held on and they didn't offer much for the entire game, but they very nearly managed to eke out a point. And at the end you go, actually it's hard to do anything else against Manchester City, and Bournemouth are doing the exact same thing again this afternoon. Would you have a lot of sympathy for managers going up against Manchester City? Would you think as a player that it's acceptable to go out thinking, let's just not lose this, let's not just get hammered?
Yeah, if you're going against Man City, you got to think, right, let's not concede too much possession to them high up the field. They're going to have possession, but you don't want to have it to be right in front of your box because they pick you apart. So getting people behind the ball and creating difficult, basically compacting all those small little pockets that they like to play in and feed off, that's what you have to do to try and stop them. And you need to, it's not nice to do, but if you go out and try and play expansive football against Man City, they'll absolutely destroy it. They'll pick you apart. They're happy to play out from the back. If you try and press them high up the pitch, which not many teams can do to a high enough level to stop them playing out, they'll just go past you, get down the other end, and then they've got the players to finish it off. So you have to respect them enough to basically get men behind them, unless you're one of the top 4 teams that could probably have enough quality to cause them issues.
It's funny, they started today with De Bruyne, who's gone off injured, David Silva, Raheem Sterling, Bernardo Silva and Sergio Aguero as their attacking 5. But in a way, Stephen, you watched this game and the game on Wednesday night, it looks as though Fernandinho's a big loss. The way he can link play from the defence to the attack, that he can release players. Maybe they've such a set style of play at times that he's far more aware of his responsibility than Gundogan is when he sits in there.
Yeah, it's funny because people talk about Fernandinho as his defensive qualities and what he offers them being able to sure things go. But the way when he gets the ball, he's always looking forward. He always finds that first pass that puts someone through or takes out a couple of players, and then it gives those attacking players the opportunity to pick another pass. But he's been so important to them since he's been there, and it's grown and grown as the seasons have gone on. And this season, when he's not been around, they've looked a different team. I know people are talking about when Aguero was out and the games he's missed, but when Fernandinho's not been there, that link from the back to the front has been an issue. And don't get me wrong, Gundogan is a fantastic footballer, but Fernandinho just does it better.
All right, Stephen, thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks very much, Nathan.
We'll see you back in the studio next time Johnny's off. It's gone quiet. He's angry.
Johnny's tuned out here. Yeah, Johnny's just tuned out. He's thinking of the next Cheltenham preview he's going to have to do.
How many Cheltenham preview nights do you do a year? How many people go to your Cheltenham preview nights?
It's not my Cheltenham preview.
Well, how many people in general would go to them? Couple of hundred?
Do you know the funny thing was, we only had one at home in Ballygar, County Galway, and we'd like 250 people at it, really well organised, but like we was at one the other night, I'd say, with 40 people maybe.
Okay, because funny, I obviously know my racing.
You're doing a Cheltenham preview, aren't you?
So I'm doing a Cheltenham preview,
when
actually.
When are you going to
that? I think it's 4,000.
That's in Cheltenham, isn't it?
That's in Cheltenham.
4,000 people.
Like, you just rock up for the big gigs, Johnny. Don't need to be doing Ballygar.
Yeah.
Just come to the big gigs.
Well, that was actually...
Johnny likes to get out and meet people, though.
That was for St Brendan's GA club, so there was
You're giving something back.
That was giving something
local
back.
Community.
I'm just...
Do people get paid for these?
It depends. So if it were... Generally you...
Jockeys get paid for turning up at nights.
Generally you would, but if it's a charitable event, obviously you should at least...
weigh it up.
Well, you should... No, well, like...
But some lads are out... every night. Like some jockeys don't go near it. Some, it feels like our trainers, they must be doing 6 or 5 or 6.
Gordon Elliott was extremely accommodating in anyone's I've been organising, never look for money, which is fair going. The likes of Willie Mullins, he wouldn't really look for money, he just doesn't want to do them because he's just enough to be doing. Some jockeys would ask for like €500, $1,000 to do it, and maybe that's their right, but sometimes I think if it's a charitable event, you should certainly think about doing it for very little, but ultimately they don't really make much money.
Are they worthwhile?
It's debatable. Like I was on one with David Jennings last night. I think that was his 7th. So far, I think I've been on 3 with maybe 2 or 3 more to go. But
if I was to record everyone, are you contradicting yourself from one to another?
No, although you do pick up information on the way. You might tip up Sam Crow one night and the following night he's not even running at the festival, which is exactly what happened this week. But no, like there was one in Kennedy's Western Road this week where it was 80 minutes from start to finish. I think that's what they should be like, the ones that drag on. Oliver Brady used to have one in Monaghan where there'd be 12
hours.
It'd be way more than that. There'd be 12 people on the panel, and then in the middle,
chatting.
And then in the middle of it, he'd bring in Pablo, his horse, into the hall. So like he trained a horse called Pablo, the late Oliver Brady, and so you'd be there in Castlevania, whatever. Next thing, like your local town hall, this horse comes into it for the Cheltenham preview night to offer his views on the champion hurdle or whatever.
That's the next level of Cheltenham preview.
Talking horses.
You're talking about presenting Percy.
Yeah.
And presenting Percy is presented on the preview night.
Is that just because it's a presented double stuff going on there?
I'm just thinking, it's perfect. Yeah. Strolls in, everybody gets a good look and goes, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, well, if they're not going to run him
instead of the trainer going, he's in great shape.
Hang on a second, if they're not going to give him a prep run for the Gold Cup all year because of the ground, they're not going to bring him into a bloody hall, like. I would have thought.
Just throwing it out there, Johnny, as a way of livening these
sell the game
up.
somehow, you know.
Let's run through the championship scores very quickly. No doubt about the standout score in the championship. Villa 4, Derby 0 at half-time at Villa Park.
This is happening to poor old Frank Lampard just when the Chelsea gig looks like it might be up soon.
And this is... They're heading for a 4th straight defeat in all competitions.
They're giving hope to everyone in the championship in the sense that the situation at the moment, that there's a top 5 that look like that's Norwich, Leeds, Sheffield United, West Brom and Middlesbrough, that between them look like they're going to have 2 promoted and 3 playoffs. And then it's just opening up a bit. There's a 5-point gap back to Bristol City, who have also lost their last 2 games. They're playing away to Preston today where they're behind. So it's just opening up for Derby.
Preston any chance?
Derby, Birmingham, Forest. Preston are getting in there. Yeah, Preston, as it stands in running today, are 3 points off the playoff places. And it's Derby's capitulation that has given everyone a chance. I actually saw Bristol City and Birmingham play on Tuesday, and Birmingham are pretty good, but Birmingham have an EFL punishment hanging over them potentially, which would scupper them. Villa have been very disappointing, yet you look at it, they're 5 points off it as it stands. They're 4-0 up against Derby at half-time.
Conor Howard has scored twice. Jack Grealish has scored an absolute cracker, which I'm somehow looking at on my phone here.
That's obviously illegal.
Yeah, it's totally legal.
There appears to be a man from an Emirati commentating on it.
Gary Lineker tweeted it, so it's perfectly fine. Sue him. He's worth far more than I am. It's one of those corner kicks sent to the edge of the area, first time volley, smashed.
Villa have been really, I love it. I mean, you should go and talk to him like you tried and talk to Declan Rice during the week.
Well, how many big interviews did you get in the mix zone, Dan?
Did you try to talk to Rice, or did you talk to Rice?
No,
I didn't see the clip.
No.
I mean, it's a short one.
Like me and Pat Kelly?
No, because Pat Kelly did Pat Kelly say no to you that time?
He said something like, mumble.
Yeah.
He didn't say nothing, but
you were just left standing there like...
I wasn't standing, I was kind of following around like a stray dog.
Waiting in turn and realising then that you didn't know the person that you
was funereal.
It was a small bit like that. But...
what wrecked my head was his comment.
Declan Rice walked very fast with a bit of... You actually said any chance for a quick word, Declan? No.
Well, I said, since I've gone that far...
You have to do it. No,
I had to. You never know. He might be potluck. Doesn't realise who he's talking to. Thinks this will be a quick, good game, Declan.
Yeah.
Like his nice little Sky Sports interview that he did yesterday.
Would you not have done a more Cockney accent or something to try and throw him in? There was definitely a fellow Irish off you, to be fair.
His fellow countrymen.
But he instantly looks at you and goes, definitely Irish, don't stop. I said, any chance of a quick word, Declan? And he went, looked at me and went, no.
Yeah, well, he did say it was the toughest decision of his career, which is great considering he's been playing for about 3 months. So, fair play.
Wow. The other score.
It's turned bitter. It's turned completely bitter.
It's got so
it was absolutely fine.
From this man here who was saying for months, the old concept of identity is it's anachronistic. And now he's just completely turned on Declan Rice.
Scoreless between Brentford and Queen's Park Rangers. Hull are 1-up against Birmingham. Reading 1-up away against Ipswich. It's 1-1 between Millwall and the league leaders Norwich.
Sean Williams with the equaliser for Millwall there.
Preston 1-0 up against Bristol City. Rotherham 1-0 up against Blackburn. Stoke are leading Notts Forest 1-0. No goals between Swansea and Bolton, or between Wigan and Middlesbrough.
Sean Williams, funny now, Millwall are struggling down the bottom of the championship. There's a lot of factors against him, but he actually is a number 6 who can actually get a team playing and passing and being effective, and he probably deserves to be in the discussion.
And had a weird situation where he got that goal against Wales.
He got the goal against Wales,
and then was never seen again.
Well, he played it 3 days later in Poland and did very well, but then wasn't seen again. I think sort of McCarthy had reservations about him, but in Williams, it's just slightly unlucky. He's probably been overlooked a small bit.
He'd be the best passer of all those midfielders, probably.
Yeah, he's just unfortunate that Millwall are down where they are, rather than him playing with a Preston or a playoff chasing team as it stands at the moment.
All right, so Manchester City scoreless with the second half just getting underway against Bournemouth, and Manchester United 1-0 down at home against Southampton. We'll talk you through the second halves as City have another injury problem. We'll tell you about that right after these.
Join that conversation on Facebook and Twitter.
Football Index is reinventing football betting. You can buy and sell the world's top players. Their value may go up and down, but it's not over with the final whistle like a regular bet. Football Index, reinventing football betting.
Start building your portfolio today at footballindex.co.uk or download the app now. New customers only, minimum deposit and conditions apply. Gamble responsibly.
Is your Volkswagen in need of a checkup? Trust an approved Volkswagen technician for peace of mind and to help keep your Volkswagen a Volkswagen. Book a classic service online for just €169 at Volkswagen.ie with free 1 year's roadside assistance and tyre care included. Terms and conditions apply.
Enjoy exceptional Irish art at White's Auction this weekend. See paintings by Jack Yates, Paul Henry, William Orpin, Margaret Clark, Louis Le Brockie, Tony O'Malley and many others at the RDS this Saturday, Sunday and Monday, or online at whites.ie. Whites, where Irish art is truly valued.
Dreaming of a sunny beach break? Fly Air Arabia direct to Agadir, Morocco's premier sun destination. Flights from Dublin start at €59 one way, including taxes. Book at airarabia.com. Air Arabia, where next? T's and C's apply.
Looking for a relaxing retreat? Step into the award-winning Carnan House Hotel Killarney, a member of Ireland's Blue Book and part of Condé Nast's prestigious list of destinations to stay in Ireland. Discover the intriguing manor house steeped in history. Relax in front of open fires and stunning views over the national park. and savour the dining experience at the 2AA Rosette Herbert restaurant. Prices from $94.50 per person sharing, to include an overnight stay with breakfast and dinner. Visit Cahernan.com for further details.
I've been head of security for my family 35 years. Dog years, yeah. I deal with all the major threats, loud noises, postmen. AA Home Insurance takes care of the rest, house and contents. But that's just a backup. I've totally got this. I've got a nose for trouble. And bacon.
With AA Home Insurance, you can claim up to €3,000 without losing your no-claims discount. Go to the AA.ie. Who's got clever home insurance? Covers one claim in any consecutive 3-year period. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. AA Ireland Limited Trading as AA Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Trade up and save with Neff at Power City. For a limited time, claim up to €150 cashback on selected Neff home appliances. To find out more, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
How do you get your advertising to cut through in a world awash with noise and distractions? Simple. You get in through the letterbox. Publicity Post delivers your leaflets with the post by An Post. When it comes to direct marketing, no one knows Ireland like we do, and we'll deliver on time from just 9 cents per item ex-VAT at 23%. What's more, Publicity Post is GDPR compliant. Log on to unpost.com/leaflet for more information. Terms and conditions apply.
At Centra, we have great offers in store, like Centra selected berries any 2 for €5. Canto Novo Pinot Grigio, half price now €7.99. And our mega deal until Sunday, Centra Fresh Irish whole chicken 1.9 kilo, half price now €3.50. Centra, live every day. Enjoy cold sensibly.
Football on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Boyle Sports. Now with same-day withdrawals to your Visa debit card.
Real sense of urgency now from Manchester City. They remain scoreless against Bournemouth. 50 minutes gone at the Vitality Stadium. John Stones, who's just back from injury, has gone off to be replaced by Vincent Kompany in the last couple of minutes. Remember, a point puts City back on top, but only on goal difference, and they'll have played a game more than Liverpool ahead of the Merseyside derby, which is live here on Off the Ball tomorrow. Manchester United still 1-0 down at home against Southampton. Wolves 2-0 up against Cardiff City. Scoreless between Brighton and Huddersfield, and Burnley are 1-0 down at home in their game against Crystal Palace. Now, Connacht 34-5 up against Ospreys. It'll be a big win for Connacht in the Pro 14. Ospreys currently down to 13 men at the moment. 53106 is the text number. Add Off the Ball on Twitter. You can comment on all of our social channels as well. We've been talking about potential Irish starting 11s. We're getting a lot of texts in about this.
I'll give Shane Keegan's.
We'll give Shane Keegan's.
Shane Keegan's got so into the media game now.
So
he's even contributing remotely.
Slut. Yeah. Shane Keegan.
Sorry, but you are in no position to preach about this.
Takes one to know one. What's disappointing me about Shane here is that, you know, he's shown a bit of managerial kind of naivety. Because he's playing a team that's so reminiscent of the team that he played in the latter stages of the Galway United getting relegated season, where he was really good to watch, but we conceded a lot.
Ultimately, they were relegated.
Conceded a lot of goals because of our wing backs. But in fairness, he's 3-4-2-1 here. The two wing backs are actually kind of defenders, whereas we had kind of more like wingers playing who didn't really know how to defend. But anyway, Shane will have his own.
He will, and he can't actually reply unless he has a prolonged text.
It's Randolph. This is quite similar to your team in a way, but Egan's playing Coleman, Duffy, Egan. That's 3 at the back. Doherty, Hendrick, Brady, Stevens, and then O'Dowda and Brown behind Maguire.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he gives it the old thumbs up emoji, just as if there were any doubt.
That's the correct answer.
That is all. But we'd have a lot of foot. We'd play a lot of football. We'd be good to watch.
We'd thrash Gibraltar.
I think we'd beat Gibraltar, yeah. But Shane, what are you doing? Still persisting with that 3 at the back stuff. It just didn't really work towards the end. Shane used to make the argument, sure, we conceded, but we started scoring a lot more as well, and we were very good to watch.
Entertainment. Yeah. You'd be given out if there was scoreless draws and there was no entertainment on the Dyke Road.
There's a lot of those in the League of Ireland at the moment. It's been one of the dullest starts to the, you know.
In the Premier Division, the First Division, goals everywhere.
Yeah, tell that to my kids. Every time I bring them to a bloody game, it's 0-0.
Yeah, that's not good. It's like the Northern Irish sports results party.
Yeah.
You know? Last night was a
well,
bit like that.
On that, what player from the League of Ireland would make the starting 11 if we had to pick one, says Sean in Thurles?
If you had to pick one, I don't think one would make one at the moment. I think
So last night we were both at Shamrock Rovers against Dundalk, scoreless draw. Was there a standout player? I thought Jack Byrne was very impressive.
Byrne did well
in certain areas.
Jack Byrne
said he was lost or something.
Well, no, I didn't say he was lost. I said that there was times where he was wandering to get on the ball, but he wasn't really able to really affect the game in the final third. And I think Rovers are still trying to find their way. I mean, when you just see Jack when he has the ball, the quality that he has, there's no doubt in it. But Ronan Finn missed out the other night. It was Dylan Watts last night who missed out, as City actually just score as we speak.
That's a bad goal.
A scuffy goal there.
Really bad defending from Bournemouth, and it's Riyad Mahrez who has got the goal. He was pretty heavily criticised for his performance against West Ham in midweek, but he has come on to score for Manchester City. 9 minutes gone in the second half, and Riyad Mahrez, who replaced Kevin De Bruyne just before half-time. You say a very, very scrappy goal. Bournemouth had several chances, it looked like,
the keeper's got to save it, doesn't he, Nathan?
The ball drifting across. It was kept alive quite well by City. Eventually comes to Mahrez. The angle is he's beaten at the near post.
Not good. And it's a scruffy shot. His position's probably a bit off initially.
They all count though.
It changes. But anyway, sorry, Rovers last night, they have Aaron McAniff, they have some very talented midfielders. They just weren't really, and they had an Austrian guy playing up front who I think he's taken time to adjust, and it didn't really have. So like Jack Byrne, someone like Jack Byrne, probably, you can see the way he can be so good. He needs a forward player making runs off him and let him pick them with passes, and there's only one or two times
there was nothing but midfielders on the pitch last night.
Yeah, there was a big aspect to that, and I mean, you mentioned, to go back to your initial point, I mean, Michael Duffy was the player of the year last year, and I think he's got a lot of the attributes that would. I think he could. I mean, Martin O'Neill certainly liked him. He's a very fit player, covers a lot of ground, keeps going. But he was like double teamed. I mean, Rovers sent out Roberto Lopez, who's normally a centre half, to right back because he's very quick last night to try and take Duffy. But even towards the end, where I thought Duffy got a small bit more involved, but when he cut inside, he had 2-3 bodies, always blocking his path. I mean, Rovers actually defended very well, but almost at the expense of really being able to press on. But so to answer the question in a long-winded way, I think Duffy would be the one, but he's not going to be ahead of James McLean. He's not going to be ahead of Callum O'Dowda. He's someone that he could certainly have a debate about and being around the squad. But it's a struggle for characters to emerge. I mean, it's funny, there's a lot of very good players. I mean, on ability, I mean, you look at Jack Byrne, you look at Sean Murray in glimpses. McElhenney, who's out injured at the moment. Forrester is still finding his way. We're talking a lot about Dylan Watts, is a very talented player too, but we're talking about a lot of almost the same type of player.
I'd probably go with McElhenney as the player who I think would, when he's fit, he'd be comfortable playing at that level within a good team, and he's a brilliant striker, the ball left and right. He would be the he'd be probably a more natural number 10 than Brown, in my view. But in fairness to Mick McCarthy, his comments about bringing in a League of Ireland player were, I thought, perfectly fair. If I were the Ireland manager, there wouldn't be any League of Ireland player in the squad at the moment. I don't think anyone's good enough.
It's been a good couple of minutes for the Manchester clubs. Let's go to Old Trafford. Manchester United against Southampton. Darren Stanich.
Manchester United 1, Southampton 1. Another wonderful goal at Old Trafford, and it's Andreas Pereira who's equalised for United, curling one into the top left-hand corner from a central position, and it's no more than United deserve. United have been at Southampton right from the off, and it's Manchester United 1, Southampton 1.
So 1-1 there, and Manchester City 1-0 up away against Bournemouth thanks to that goal from Riyad Mahrez. Let's go to Turf Moor. There's been another goal in the match between Burnley and Crystal Palace. Watching this one's Adam Drury.
Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 2, and Michy Batshuayi has given the Eagles a 2-goal advantage here, and quite possibly the game. It all came about from the work from Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who collected the ball on the right-hand side and delivered a low cross to the penalty spot, where Batshuayi swung at the ball first time and smashed it to the right past Heaton. He had no chance. Great finish. Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 2.
Yeah, so Burnley looking like it's going to be a pretty bad weekend for them, a bad week for them. So the scores in the Premier League are Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 1, Manchester United 1, Southampton 1, Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 2. Scoreless still between Brighton and Huddersfield, and Wolves are 2-0 up against Cardiff. If you missed it, Spurs and Arsenal played out a 1-1 draw earlier today. Dinny texts in to say, Nathan, I don't disagree with 3-5-2, but McLean can't play as a wing-back. Put Stevens there. He plays there every week for a high-flying Sheffield United. I think I might have been quite similar to you, Johnny, in that as I was putting together my team, I didn't have James McLean in it, but it's just hard to imagine an Ireland team without him in it.
Well, it's more so with Coleman, really, but I don't think either merits automatic starting, because I'd like
playing at a totally different level.
I don't care about
people talk about Seamus Coleman. He's got destroyed at times this season. By who? No. Anthony Martial. Like, the level he's playing at is against the best wingers in the world.
Yeah, but then you see Coleman back playing during the week against Cardiff, and he looked a bit more back to himself. So.
McLean, what will McLean bring to the team? That's the question mark. Energy.
And as you said, Johnny,
passion.
patriotism.
If you're playing in Denmark away in June the 7th, I can see McLean being in the side for that type of match. McLean is someone that could actually miss out on Gibraltar when you think about it, for the reasons that we're discussing. But then he maybe feels the need to bring him back in at certain times. You know,
I have sympathy for Mick though. He's had very little chance to do anything with these. I mean, it's almost like
he's at Luton today. Mick McCarthy actually looking at James Collins. I was over in Luton on Thursday doing a piece with James Collins, and at the time it was Terry Connor who was coming to Luton, but obviously Mick McCarthy is gone. So now actually Luton, who are free scoring on top of the table, they're 0-0 at home to Rochdale today. So, but Collins is certainly someone who's going to be in contention.
What type of character is he?
Yeah, I like him. I have to say, he's someone who he's 28, so he's not like a rising young star. Unfortunately, he's a fella that if you look up his name, you get a lot of references to James Collins, the Welsh James Collins, and they were at Aston Villa for a time, so you have to deal with that. But B, he was involved in that episode at Cheltenham a couple of years back where the footballers were behaving badly. Now, I mean, I spoke to him about that. He's very relaxed speaking about it now.
On the record?
Very much on the record. I mean, the story as it happened, I mean, the suggestion was, I mean, the story's been told, but the lads, a couple of footballers in a box at Cheltenham, the toilets were a long way away, so they decided to, instead of the crowds, they couldn't get through, the place was overcrowded, they decided to use a pint glass and tip it over the edge of a balcony. Now, the story made it look like there was people below and they were just like, throwing stuff onto the crowd, where that actually wasn't the case. There was a bit of grass below. It wasn't as bad. But it was still bad behaviour, and he admits it. But you see, you read these stories and you get an impression of his character and you think, oh, is this guy going to be going to have a bit of an edge to him or something? Not the case at all. And I spoke, before I went to meet him, I texted a couple of people who knew him and played with him just to say, well, what's he like? And every single one came back with really good reports. And I met people at Luton there who didn't necessarily know I was doing a piece for Collins and were raving about him as what a great professional and really sort of hard-working fella. So actually I really warmed to him. He's a nice fella, and he's done very well. More to the point, he's a good footballer. And he has scored 148 goals at lower league level, so he's got a pretty good goal return, but there's a feeling that he's probably now fitter and in better condition than he's ever been, and he is the top scorer in League One, so he's definitely worthy of a shout. I mean, Mick Harford was there. They're all very much. Mick Harford was even asking me, what's the story? Is Mick Harford had spoken to Robbie Keane, so they're all desperate for him to get a shout. And I think where we're at the moment, I think he's good with both feet. He's got a good goal record.
I'd have to ask the question: can you select a League One striker ahead of Shane Long?
Yeah, I mean,
Shane Long obviously hasn't scored any goals, and there's a greater issue probably with his confidence. But he's going up against some of the best defenders in the world every week.
No, it's a very fair point. I mean, I was at Southampton during the week. Long come on, and you look at, Long is one goal away, I think, from 50 goals in the Premier League. I think only 3 other Irish players have done that, and he scored in 10 consecutive seasons. But I guess it depends. Like, Shane Long, has he ever really thrived? If you're going to play one up front as that number 9 who sort of holds the ball up and brings others into the game and acts as that sort of fulcrum for the attack and play, he's sometimes struggled with that. And Mick McCarthy came to favour Martin O'Neill came to favour Darryl Murphy quite dramatically, towards the end. I take your point. I think if Collins gets into the squad, I mean, at best he's going to be coming off the bench initially, but he is someone who's scoring a lot of goals.
Let's go to Old Trafford. There's been another goal between Manchester United and Southampton. Darren Stanich.
Manchester United 2, Southampton 1. Romelu Lukaku scoring for United just 5 minutes after they equalised. Pereira getting involved, fed it to him in the area, controlled it really well and tucked it into the bottom left-hand corner. Before that, Pereira's brilliant curling effort had brought United level. A change of formation, perhaps the key for United. They've gone with 3 at the back. Dallow's on as an attacking right wing-back. He's been in good form down the right-hand side. Fed Marcus Rashford, who should have scored. But United have turned it around here. United 2, Southampton 1.
Yeah, it was Andres Pereira who had scored the opening goal, then set up Romelu Lukaku. United 2-1 up and on course to go into the top 4 again in the Premier League. Manchester City still 1-0 up away from home against Bournemouth. Riyad Mahrez goal early in the second half. 63 minutes gone at the Vitality Stadium. Connacht 41-5 up against Ospreys in the Pro 14. Eddie asks, lads, who are your captains? And this raises a slight question of with Seamus Coleman, that if does that come into his thinking, do you think? It's a big story if he has to sort of strip the captaincy of Coleman because he's not in the team. So
yeah. I think Coleman will be his captain. I think I know that Coleman may not, in some eyes, like tick all the boxes for being like, you know, this commanding central captain figure, but I think in terms of his influence around the group and his character, again, you speak to people around the place, okay, maybe he's not, as I said, he's not a traditional old school captain, but I think he leads by example in his way, and I think to strip him of it, and I would be stripping him of it, there's no way, I'm not going to lie, that's how it would be written if that was the case, no matter what excuse you put on it. I think you're creating a storm, which if you have a player who maybe his confidence might have suffered a small bit. I mean, naturally he's been dropped a couple of times, so of course it's going to hurt him. I think to take the captaincy away from him would be... I mean, when he was injured, he broke his leg, he was coming in, he was invited in, he was around the camp.
And even, like, as we've heard in his post-match interviews now, he does seem to have taken on a bit more of a leadership role and very much realises he needs to go out front and centre when things are pretty bad under Martin O'Neill. He wasn't shy in putting himself out there and taking whatever was thrown at him.
Yeah, I think he was involved even in, you know, talking about other players and who does interviews and, you know, just captaincy stuff. So, now you can't take that off.
Who would be the second captain in Duffy?
I mean, Duffy's a centre half, is always going to play.
Yeah,
so
there's not too many others.
He's going to have a huge, I think, time. Just the thing about Maguire is, we're all banking on Maguire as our top striker, and like he's done so little for Ireland, he just hasn't had the chance. He's obviously been injured, and it's asking a lot for him just to adjust to international level like that. But I don't see what our other.
Well, the hope, I guess, is that he goes out against Gibraltar and gets a couple of goals and suddenly
he's off the mark.
On from there. We have a text in asking about Patrick Bamford. We'll get to that in a moment, but I want to play you an interview from early in the week. You'll have heard this. Stephen Doyle was out with Mick McCarthy. They were launching the new Vantage Club, or what's the new name?
It's Club Ireland now. There was there was some
Club Ireland 3-year, 5-year, 10-year. Go get them. We had a long debate about it on Wednesday's show. Joe was trying to figure out even if he had how much money he'd need before he'd actually buy one.
Well, oh really? Yeah. Well, there was a Club England thing, and obviously in England, which was their thing. So I mean, the last one that they did left the association with a crippling debt that has affected pretty much everything that's happened in Irish football over the last 10 years. So I mean, this one, I mean, it can't go worse.
Stop trying to bring us down, Dan. Stop trying to bring us down.
Well, I mean, it's a fact.
I know.
But hey, listen, I mean, there was huge levels of accountability for that, I think, wasn't there?
That's Ireland for you.
Yeah.
So they were launching that, and all the big guns were brought out. Mick McCarthy was there, sat down with a lot of people, including our own Stephen Doyle, and they discussed the possibility of approaches for Nathan Redmond and Patrick Bamford.
Well, there was word that you were looking for the likes of Nathan Redmond, Patrick Bamford, these kind of players. Have you had any news on those two in particular?
Yeah, I've spoken to Nathan Redmond's agent. I've tried to get to meet him. That's never managed that.
What's the problem there?
Well, he got injured. He was out of the team. I think he's having a good season and he's played for England. I wonder if he's still harbouring desires to play there. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't had the conversation with him, so I'm kind of guessing myself. In terms of Patrick Bamford, I've spoken to him. I've tried to meet him on a number of occasions, and then he's been injured, and then a game was cancelled that I was going to go and watch, and he wasn't involved, and so he's played. He scored last week. He played out the game last night. I'm waiting for him now. Tell me where and when. If you want to play, I'll come and meet and let's arrange it. That's my message now.
Yeah, because a lot of Irish supporters might think, well, these guys didn't declare in the last 5 to 10 years, and now Ireland seems like just a fallback for them. Can you understand why supporters maybe would feel a bit uneasy about seeing players like that in the squad?
Yes, I can. But then I can go back to 1984 when, you know, players like me were coming over and played with a Yorkshire accent, you know, except with an Irish dad, and every right to be playing. And there was a fair bit of resentment then, and then I remember qualifying for 88 and 90, and there was no resentment at all, and only just celebration. So I think we've got to get back to that. Let me tell you, I want players to play for Ireland who want to play. And I don't want blow-ins. I don't want people who just, you know, might want to play for somebody else. They've got to give me that, show me that desire that they want to play. Because ultimately they're not playing for me, they're playing for Ireland. I'll be gone at some stage and they may be playing for longer. But what I would say is about the players that joined in 84 and, you know, the lads that I played with, and lots of us who were born in England, they were all very passionate about playing for Ireland and still are, and still coming over here, and we had a huge success. It would be nice to get back to that success.
Yeah, Mick McCarthy there talking to Stephen Doyle earlier in the week about the next saga after Declan Rice, which will be Patrick Bamford and Nathan Redmond. And
just pick up the phone, like Bob Geldof at sort of at Live Aid and imploring, just pick up the phone. And then he scores twice last night, Bamford. So you're like, oh, I scored twice last night. That's probably a bad thing, you know? I mean, at this stage, I mean... like,
these lads need to be told where to go.
Mick McCarthy is not...
What do you mean told where to go? As in,
like
sling your hook, like.
Exactly.
As opposed to like go to Gatwick at 8 o'clock.
Sunday morning and come train with Ireland.
We got a flight for you. I mean, I think it is getting to the stage where, I mean, Mick McCarthy's what he's managing since 1992. He's in football sort of way longer than that. I think when he comes out and he says he knows I've been trying my damnedest, he needs to pick up the phone. He is sending a message to the player. There's no doubt about that. He is getting a bit miffed with the whole thing, and that stuff I think is damaging, because I know I do take his point about how we have very short memories and people have very short memories, and you qualify for a tournament that's all forgotten, and I do accept that. But I think that there's been with what's happened with Rice and Grealish, I think we've been on the other side of it to a degree, and I think there's a bit more discussion and sensitivity and awareness about it now, because we're not talking about superstars here. We're talking about guys who might be a couple of % better than what we've got. Okay, Nathan Redmond is a very good player, Premier League player, but at this point in time, okay, Bamford is a great pedigree, but is he more deserving of a cap and an appearance and a start than Sean Maguire? I don't know. I wouldn't feel great about Patrick Bamford coming
Sean
over.
Maguire has had a lot of injuries.
No, so is Bamford. Yeah. Bamford's, you know,
we're desperately short of strikers
than Sean Maguire.
Like maybe Bamford is saying like, well, you know, if I go over, how will I be received? I've obviously switched allegiance already. I'm wary of, you know, the reaction and all that. Maybe he is thinking about it.
It's a fair point too.
But I think
is it worth
can read everything
for potentially a couple of caps?
Yeah, but they should read every tweet or comment.
They should. In fairness, they should just come to a decision quickly and get out the way. I wouldn't have really an issue with these lads playing for Ireland, because I do feel that once they get in the group, it's not like they're not going to be 100% committed. I genuinely feel once they come in, they'll give everything. They're playing international level. They'll get on with the group of lads that are there, and they're probably a great bunch of lads who do want to succeed after some very bad few years. But like, let's just get it out of the way now and say you're gone from Ireland or you're not.
See, you say that, John, and of course they'll be 100% committed as good pros, but you sometimes have discussions and you hear grumbles that if things are going badly, there will be always that scepticism lingering there about.
Are they suddenly pulling out for friendlies?
Well, of course, and that's definitely, that has existed around players in very recent years.
And this is different to Rice as well. Like, people say, well, we chased after Declan Rice, we shouldn't have.
Yeah, well, that was
played.
no, this is
there at underage
level.
level.
He was ours, and he defected.
He's been too honest for his own good there. But part of the interesting story with Mick is that he's got nothing to lose over the next 18 months. He doesn't need to think long term. He can just go out and tell the truth and go, actually, these lads, I don't know what the hell is going on with them.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a refreshing sort of way in which Mick delivers it that you warm to it. But I do think if Martin O'Neill had come out and said, you know, had made the same comments about Patrick Bamford, there would be a view of he's throwing him under the bus here, you know, and that definitely.
Why don't you just go over to the training ground and meet him?
Why don't you go? Yeah, exactly. So I think when there's a wave of positivity behind the new manager, they definitely can get away with more in terms of how they say it. But I think, you know, we always thought with Mick that actually that he would be very persuasive in terms of getting it done, but really he's just hitting the same obstacles that O'Neill was in terms of particularly Nathan Redmond, who I think O'Neill did try and get at 2, they couldn't even get past the agent. Like that's
what I was about to ask you. And because you were in Southampton on Wednesday night, and much like myself and Declan Rice, I'd say part of you was thinking, who knows, maybe Nathan Redmond walks into the right place at the right time and tells you something wonderful that nobody else had heard previously.
I couldn't get into the mix zone, although there was a couple of Japanese lads there getting Yoshida. Of course. They're everywhere.
I've said this before when I've been down at Southampton. It's incredible. I've seen 10 Japanese journalists after Southampton games waiting for Mei Yoshida.
Yeah.
And you'll rarely see Japanese journalists at any other Premier League team. There'll be 10 of them.
There was 4 of them
in Southampton.
What are they going to ask him? Like?
There was 4
and he'll stand and chat to them for 20 minutes.
Yeah, there was 4 of them there on Wednesday, and I couldn't get into the mix zone. And then I was coming out going, I was hanging around by the buses. Now I think it was the team buses. I was like, what the hell is going on here? Because actually there was these Ryan Babel come out, and I don't know were they Liverpool fans or what. 8 or 10 people had waited around to get Babel, and when he came out, he came over and he signed everything. It was very nice. But I was like, there's the bloody mix zone. Who's in there? And it was just the four Japanese lads. But Yoshida, long after the game was over, and they were chatting away. They were in the press room beforehand, and it's obviously a great deal they've got going on.
As I said after the multimillionaire 20-year-old Declan Rice walked past me with one word, this is what they should be training the kids in sports journalism.
That should be practicing.
Yeah.
Well, I was over.
This is the reality of the situation.
I was over doing a few bits in England this week.
Also, I was there for good reason.
No, you got completely screwed. Whereas I wasn't relying on the.
You got to talk to James Collins at least.
I wasn't relying on the games that I went to, but I went to Bristol City the night before on an off chance, and then Callum O'Dowda isn't been put up because there's been a bit of transfer speculation around him lately, and then Obafemi got injured, and he was on course to start for Southampton on Wednesday, and that would have been great to see him play. And he's out for a season.
My point was going to be that if you got talking to Nathan Redmond, and you said, so what's the story with Ireland? Part of me wonders if he would go, what do you mean? Somebody has spoken to his agent went, we'd be interested in that. Yeah, potentially, let's see what happens.
Footballers look themselves up on. I know Nathan Redmond actually did give an interview recently about how he's gone off social media, but footballers are aware of what's said about them. There's no way Nathan Redmond, if he's a massive, he's come up as a headline.
But there's another possibility he hasn't had a proper, he hasn't really thought about this.
No, because he's been asked about it before. He's actually given interviews about it maybe a couple of years back about being very aware of the choices that he had between England, Ireland, and
was that before he played for England?
Before, yeah. So he had he's aware that it exists, and if this dates back to Martin O'Neill, which I believe that it does, to last summer, then I think he's very much aware of the situation. Redmond's had a good season. Mick McCarthy alluded to the fact he's had a good season, and the good season has probably given him half a chance of getting into the England shake-up. But then there would be a view perhaps that maybe the way England play with Southgate staying mightn't suit him if they stick with the wing-backs, although I know they've actually deviated from that a bit in the qualifiers since. But the broader point is, I think people are I think the Irish fans, I agree with you, Johnny, that they will welcome anyone who comes in and works hard, but I do think it's a bit more nuanced to debate now in terms of how we feel about it. And particularly, the players Ireland got on the rules that Mick McCarthy refers to were like league winners and players who they didn't have to work too hard to get credit in the bank. When you're getting guys who have a sort of a modest record at lower levels, there is a debate and a discussion saying, well, actually, should you be looking to fast track your own at this stage, even if it means a bit of short-term pain. But then we mentioned those bloody finances and those tickets. Ireland just need to qualify for the tournament, so I don't think there's going to be a moral stance taken from the top.
It's funny though, the future is going to be so interesting with mixed race players coming from within Ireland, and this is going to be completely the future. I was talking to League of Ireland manager during the week, and he was commenting on their 15s and their 17s players, just how much has changed. And even I was in Glasnevin Cemetery during the week, and it was this strange kind of the future versus the past, where there were a bunch of school kids, maybe 15 or 20, who were around O'Donovan Ross's grave where Pearse gave the famous oration, and I just looked at them, and they were pretty much majority mixed race or Irish African or whatever, and I was just like, this is the future of Ireland, basically. And certainly in football teams, that's completely the way it's gone, and it'll be interesting to see when some players might have a dilemma whether they even declare for Ireland.
It's happening already. I mean, you've had Ogbene from Cork who went to Brentford, and people who have Irish accents and Irish born, or certainly spent most of their life in Ireland, you know, who aren't going to want to, in some cases, to maybe play for Ireland, and that is coming. That is definitely coming down the tracks. And I spoke to someone during the week about, you know, sort of some pretty decent level, you know, elite level schoolboy younger age teams here, where it's almost like a 50% split between, you know, the sort of people whose parents may not be Irish, you know. So that's definitely happening. But I mean, we're
definitely going to get better though, because we're going to have
unquestionably.
Yeah. But by the way, though,
we're definitely going to get better.
About Bamford and all these lads as well. I mean, Will Keane has started the process. I mean, Bamford, unless he starts the process very soon, he's not going to be able to play for Mick McCarthy in a qualifier. You know, Will Keane is on the way, so I mean, he'll probably be through by the summer, maybe, or September. But Bamford at this stage, he is sort of. The more it goes on, the less likely it looks.
Goal at Old Trafford, Manchester United against Southampton. Darren Stanich.
Manchester United 2, Southampton 2, and Southampton have fought back to equalise here. It's a free kick that was brilliantly taken by James Ward-Prowse and put in the back of David De Gea's net. They've been threatening from set pieces, Southampton, to get themselves back into this game. United did miss a couple of chances to extend the lead to 3-1, and they've regretted those misses from Rashford and Dalot. It's now Manchester United 2, Southampton 2.
It could be really costly, those missed chances for Manchester United, because after the draw between Spurs and Arsenal, United had a chance to go back into the top four. As it stands, they would stay fifth, a point behind Arsenal. James Ward-Prowse having a real turnaround in form since Ralph Hasenhüttl came into the season.
I really like. I mean, I saw Southampton during the week, and I really like him. He's playing on the right side almost the other day, with Redmond on the other side. No, he's definitely like a really talented player.
Let's get the latest from Turf Moor. Burnley against Crystal Palace. Adam Drury.
Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 3, and Wilfried Zaha has put this game to bed for the Eagles. It was a decent finish where he picked up the ball in the box, did a lot of twisted and turning, plenty of time as Clarets players fell over themselves trying to stop the ball coming in. Eventually Zaha unleashed a low strike through the defence past Heaton. It's now game over. Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 3.
I was saying earlier that they were very calm and collected about their defeat in midweek, Burnley against Newcastle.
It's all imploding now.
We've been on this fine run of form, and suddenly they find themselves 3-0 down at home against Crystal Palace. They're not really out of it yet, Burnley. They're 5 points ahead of Cardiff, who are also losing. You just can't see Cardiff. Like, Cardiff are going to have to go on a hell of a run.
Well, Southampton now, I mean, I have to say, Fulham were dreadful. Fulham were absolutely dreadful, and like Ranieri, the mutinous mood, the Fulham fans spent the entire game just singing about how dreadful they were. So it was an easy 3 points for Southampton, but they do seem to have a bit of momentum going behind them, and I've never fancied Cardiff to stay up. I think they've actually done
really well. Look at this for a shot from Aguero, by the way.
They've done pretty well.
If he meant it.
A casual lob tipped off the crossbar.
That is the most casual lob from out on the left-hand side, about 25 yards out.
It's like one of those computer game ones back in the day where you set the lob function.
Off the crossbar.
Great
bounces
save.
Pretty much on the goal line. It comes out. So it remains 1-0 to Manchester City away against Bournemouth. Talking about sides with momentum, Newcastle United are pretty much clear of the relegation zone as well. They're on 31 points, 6 clear of Cardiff. They're away to West Ham in the late game. At the London Stadium is Graham Miller. Evening, Graham.
Hello, Nathan. How are you?
Very well. So, team news, anything stand out?
Well, yes and no. What stands out for Newcastle, as you're talking about, of course, the feel-good factor has returned to Tyneside, hasn't it, after those 4 wins in the last 6 games. They're unchanged today after that win over Burnley. But on the other side of the coin, West Ham, they make 5 changes after their defeat to Manchester City. In come Lanzini. Now, that's his first start after 293 days. He came on as a sub last week, but this is his first start after those injuries. Also Snodgrass, Noble, Chicharito and Cresswell. A good argument there that Pellegrini was sort of resting the players ahead of this game. Didn't really fancy his chances perhaps in the week, but obviously looking for a win today against Newcastle. But it's going to be tough with Newcastle on a roll.
All right, good stuff. Enjoy the game, Graham.
Thank you.
Graham Miller there watching West Ham against Newcastle. There's been a goal at the Amex. The deadlock has been broken between Brighton and Huddersfield. Mike Lawrence.
Brighton 1, Huddersfield 0. 12 minutes before the end of the game, we finally had a goal. Florent Andone, a free kick taken quickly from Brighton, floated into the box by Anthony Knockaert, and Andone headed home. Relief palpable around the Amex. Brighton 1, Huddersfield 0.
Huge goal for Chris Hughton and for Brighton.
On my team, by the way, as well. Just going back to it again, because I'm thinking of Duffy at Brighton. We're going to have to score. Clark and Duffy are going to have to contribute a lot from set pieces. They're going to have to nick a few goals from us, because I think in open play,
have to defend set pieces better as well.
Which big time. But again, I think we're going to defend and attack set piece an awful lot better. But we're going to have to score a large portion of our goals from set piece.
Looking forward to seeing how your team performs now, Johnny. You're really putting a lot of thought into the whole thing.
The management would be very much lacking, but
are you going to name your team days in advance, Michael O'Neill style? Are you going to wait till an hour beforehand?
Everything I know about Johnny suggests he'd be one of the people that wouldn't be seen at the training ground till Friday.
No,
it would be for slightly different reasons.
I'm not even sure.
He was doing a Cheltenham preview the night before.
I'm not even sure I turn on Friday actually, but do you remember the days when you were a kid and you only knew if you were playing by if the manager would toss the jersey at you just beforehand? There was this agonising wait as the jerseys were tossed around the room, and you're like, is he going to throw one at me? And then eventually you get it, oh yes, and then you look at this number 13.
13, yeah. It was the real GAA thing as well, wasn't it?
It was 13 was grand if it were GAA.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Not so much if it were the football.
Terrible tackle from Kyle Walker.
Is he
going to be booked, or is he going to be? He gets away with a yellow card.
He's an England international. He's fine.
The Bournemouth players were absolutely incensed by it, but there's still 6 minutes left. City leading by 1-0. Connacht have beaten Ospreys 46-5 in the Pro 14. Is all this talk of us looking for English-born players going to have an effect on the confidence of Irish-born players and their chances of playing for Ireland in the future? A young 14-year-old playing in League of Ireland will feel he has no chance compared to a lad across the lake who isn't born here.
No, I think it's going to change. No, I think it's going to change. I think that our players will be very much primarily Irish-born, and hopefully will have educated themselves by playing in the League of Ireland, and obviously the blueprint that Niall Quinn has put forward in terms of academies and all that. I think underage football is going to improve exponentially in this country, and players will.
It's not going to stop us, but I don't think it's going to stop the hunting of players overseas. So I mean,
but that second generation stuff isn't there as much more, because we wouldn't have had the immigration that we had. So all these
still
guys,
there.
It's there, but it's nowhere near what it was.
But we still you can go all the way back to grandparents. So it's definitely still there. And you would like to think we move away from a situation what we had with the under-21s during the last campaign. Live racing commentary on a Saturday afternoon.
Come to the second last.
Johnny's taking full part in the show.
You can't imagine Johnny giving a team talk halfway through while something like that actually happens for his team. But we're always going to hunt players. That's always going to happen. I don't think that's, and you're right about maybe some of the second generation stuff, but there's also a lot of different family situations, and a City nearly score. But
it goes back to your Patrick Bamford point, which is if there's better players, second generation players, than current Irish players, fine, absolutely, of course we want them playing for Ireland.
Yeah.
But if it's like for like, and we're giving preference to the English-born player,
I think that's gone
to
though,
tie them down.
And Stephen Kenny's
was that not what was happening with the under-21s?
It's changing. I think Stephen Kenny will.
He hasn't picked a squad yet.
No, he hasn't. But he's clearly set out his agenda that he wants a tight bunch of players that are primarily going to be involved. He's not going to be courting players unnecessarily who may or may not want to play for Ireland. He's kind of like, let's get them in early, and you're part of this Irish setup for indefinitely.
But that's not his job. So Mark O'Toole, who's the scout over there, comes back and says, "I've got these 4 players. I think you should try them out." He goes, "No, you're fine.
I'm not saying
I've seen lads from this League of Ireland camp."
I think his comments were more so if they want to play. I don't think he's necessarily going to get involved in the, going to persuade someone who's playing 3 or 4 games for different teams. But I think I'm sure if say Conor Coventry or someone who's there at the moment at West Ham, if he gives all the right messages, he'll continue to pick. Or if new ones if new ones emerge. I mean, the under-17 European Championships are coming up now in Dublin, or around Ireland, which is going to be great. And that's a good group of players, but they still have integrated a couple of guys born outside at that level. There's a guy from Derby, or from Brighton, and who's probably going to play, and they're there. I think that's still. I don't think the FA are going to suddenly say, Mark O'Toole, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, and that that's not an ideal circumstance, particularly if over the next couple of months a couple more under-17s emerge, and suddenly players who've been the best at their academies and the best through the development centres are missing out in the European Championship at the last minute because somebody's they never even knew existed 3 months ago.
Yeah,
is trusting it. Maybe that's just professional football.
Yeah, there's as I said, I go back earlier to financial debates and discussions, and the results of the senior team are the main financial driver for Irish football. That is our football reality. That is the culture that we live in. Like
and that's never going to change no matter who's in charge of the FAI.
It's firmly laid down in the accounts that this is the scenario. That this is very, very important. So,
but does that mean then we never have a football philosophy beyond just winning the game at all costs at international level? So Stephen Kenny and all his coaches can say, like, we need to have philosophy from the ground up here. This is how Ireland play, because we're going into a new campaign really not really knowing what system we're going to play, what Mick McCarthy's going to do. Are we a passing team? Are we long ball? Are we going to be very defensive? Who knows? Because we don't have an identity anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're fair points to raise. I think we know that Stephen Kenny will try and play in a particular way, and there is an attempt to change, but we don't. This is why we struggle, and why the idea of writing off a campaign and having a 4 or 5 year vision for something is something
obsolete.
Like you talk about, like Germany did it after Euro 2000, and you hear about international nations that do that, but we're in such a sort of hand-to-mouth situation that the idea of writing off a campaign, we were trying to sell these Club Ireland ticket packages we're on about, and they're trying to, and some of the lines that are been mentioned in the piece about, well, if you come along and you support this, you're supporting the team, you're servicing debt. I mean, that's great. That's brilliant, isn't it? Yeah. I mean,
it's what I've dreamed about as a kid.
I remember as a kid, you stick the goal in and you go, great goal. I'd say that serviced a few million off the debt there. That'd be brilliant. So, like, this is the language that's being used. So they can't really then say to your premium customers, listen, we're going to take it easy for the next couple of years here and take
Shane Long smashes in a goal against Germany. Oh, they'd be laughing in Bank of Ireland.
It's great, we needed something to offset the interest rates going up, and come at the hour, come at the man. So
our financial expert is here alongside Kevin Kilbane and co-commentary. What's this worth?
Like, you're playing New Zealand at home later this year in a football friendly, so this is the sad situation that we're in, and so there's always going to be a very short-term focus with the team, and I do think that debates around recruiting players, they all feed into that. They're all interconnected.
There's a slight irony as well that the atmosphere has become so bad because people were not enjoying the games at all, even if we were 0-0, or that people did not want to, and it became very uncool to be watching Ireland basically, and to be paying any sort of money, and that was a product of the fact that we were playing horrible football to achieve results. So it's like a vicious circle in a way.
Manchester City still 1-0 up against Bournemouth. They are just into the first of 4 minutes of injury time at the Vitality Stadium, so City on course to go back on top of the Premier League table. Still 2-2 in the game between Manchester United and Southampton. There's been another goal at Turf Moor though, Burnley against Crystal Palace. Adam Drury.
Only 1, Crystal Palace 3. Ashley Barnes has scored, although it's more than likely just going to be a consolation in this game. The cross came from the left-hand side via Ashley Westwood. Inside the penalty area was Ashley Barnes. The onrushing Hennessy was caught in no man's land, and Barnes headed and flicked it on past Hennessy and into the back of the net. It's just a consolation though. Burnley 1, Crystal Palace 3.
There's been a 5th goal at Old Trafford. Manchester United against Southampton. Who's it gone to? Darren Stanich.
Manchester United 3, Southampton 2. Romelu Lukaku, second of the game, could well be the winner here for Manchester United. Fred, the substitute, laid it off for him, and Lukaku from the edge of the penalty area knocked it into the bottom left-hand corner. Manchester United 3, Southampton 2.
Huge goal from Romelu Lukaku, who's having a very, very good week, and that'll maintain Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's ridiculous start to life in the Premier League. The Derry footballers have been promoted to Division 3 of the Allianz League after beating Limerick 13 points to 1-5. Elsewhere in Division 4, Waterford beat Antrim 1-9 to 1-8, and it finished Wexford 12 points, Wicklow 9 points. As I said, Connacht beat Ospreys 46-5 in the Pro 14. We never really got onto this in the end. Is Brendan Rodgers a fraud?
Strong comments. I mean, and do you actually have his comments that he
I'll get them here. You talk amongst yourselves.
Is he a fraud?
Your thoughts on whether he's a fraud?
Is he a fraud? No, I don't think he is. I think he has a very, his press conference style, he lays it on thick sometimes in what he says, so he has met a rod for his own back. It's a dreadful pun almost with a rod there, but he has actually done that, so he has to expect a backlash. It's naive not to expect a backlash. However, I think I heard Chris Sutton say earlier something along the lines of, Celtic reserves are bigger than Leicester. I mean, that's fair enough. I mean, Sunderland are in League One. They're way bigger than Bournemouth. But a player will still go from Sunderland to Bournemouth. That's just the way it is. Like Leeds are a massive club. Forest, Villa. There's bigger clubs in the Championship than there are in the Premier League. But it doesn't stop people going there.
Yeah.
And this is the Premier League monster that no one can compete with. And I have a lot of time. I don't like kicking Scottish football because there's a lot about Scottish football that is positive.
When you look at the amount of people that go to games.
Yeah, exactly. Per capita and stuff like that. But, I mean, Brendan Rodgers, he probably made the right move for him, to be honest.
Yeah,
So
Chris Sutton's comments don't make any real sense. All that he's doing, and talking about putting a rod in someone's back, is doing that to the next Celtic manager when they underachieve in Europe and say, compared to our Celtic side, compared to the great Celtic sides. Like,
it was a different
times have
time.
changed dramatically since Martin O'Neill was at Celtic.
When Martin O'Neill went from Leicester to Celtic, and even I did a piece during the week in the paper just looking back to the quotes, the comments, the coverage around that time of Martin O'Neill leaving, and there was I think it was The Guardian, and the lines were, O'Neill wanted to go and test himself at the highest level, and it would also make him financially secure. But what has happened now is that a manager has gone to try and get to the highest level and be more, and a better financial situation. Leicester now offers that, where Celtic offered it 20 years ago, and footballers follow it. Just as when Chris Sutton went to Celtic, if Chris Sutton was on the scene today, a player of his calibre and quality, would he be going to Celtic?
The most interesting development in Celtic this week was arguably to do with Dermot Desmond and the Shamrock Rovers link, because Dermot Desmond does not get involved in football unless he's going to make money from it. As far as he doesn't get involved in anything unless he knows he's going to make money, and if he's going to make
I know you love the League of Ireland, Johnny.
If he's going to make
don't think many people would say the most interesting development at Celtic this week was that Dermot Desmond is interested in investing money in Shamrock Rovers.
For me, it is.
Although a lot of Celtic fans who would actually that ended up being a story in Scotland, because naturally the frustration around Celtic
Where's
is
that 3 million
they're not spending
for us?
and they see Desmond getting involved in another project as such, and what's going on there. So I mean, that hasn't gone unnoticed, shall we say.
Manchester City have beaten Bournemouth by 1-0. They're back on top of the Premier League, and they've heaped more pressure on Liverpool ahead of the derby tomorrow. So if anyone missed it, the banner that was unfurled by the Celtic fans against Hearts was, "You traded immortality for mediocrity, never a Celt, always a fraud." Rodgers was asked his thoughts by the Daily Record. He said, "Is it that bad? So who's fueling this? Where is it coming from?" I'd asked them, "What the F are you doing? Bloody hell, I'm one of you. Okay, I made a career decision, but that doesn't make me any less of a Celt. A fraud? Someone who turned up 7:30 every morning of his life, who was in there until all hours of the night, who took over 60 games a season, preparing a team, changing a culture and a standard at a club, filling the support again. It's sad the way it's gone. If it is to this depth for someone who's given so many happy memories to a lot of people and has left the club in the position they're in with the stability, it is sad. I haven't exactly left a sinking ship." It's all fair enough, isn't it?
I think I wouldn't blame Rodgers at all here. It was the right move for him, and he's given Celtic pretty good service.
But I do understand the Celtic anger. I mean, they are getting towards the end of a season. I mean,
is it
to
the
be fair,
speed at which it happened?
Speed of it, I think.
That this came out, it felt at 10 o'clock in the morning that, it looks like you might go to, he's sitting in the stand that night.
But the players, the coverage in Scotland is that, and footballers are very pragmatic in terms of where players and, decisions and how the game can swing. But I think the players thought it was a joke initially when they were told. I mean, they are going, they're on the cusp of sort of winning another treble, or certainly competing strongly for another treble. So I can say, I mean, he is naive if he doesn't expect a backlash to that, know. And I think the argument would be, if you're a big Celtic lover, do you wait till the end of the season? So I can see that, but the broader point of why he went there, I don't think you can argue with it.
All right, quick break, and then we'll run you through all the full times.
Off the Ball on News Talk. All next week on News Talk, it's FYI.
Find your iPhone.
We've brand new iPhone XS's to give away every single day, right across the station. All you have to do is stay listening to News Talk to find your iPhone. And when you hear it,
just text us to win.
See newstalk.com/competitions for full details. FYI. Find your iPhone. Your chance to win a brand new iPhone XS.
Only on News Talk.
Does your office need a facelift? A new look reception area? A modern open plan office layout? Perhaps some stylish new glazed partitions? Or a cool staff canteen? Not sure where to start? Whatever your need, Hunt Office Interiors has the expertise to guide you. With showrooms in Dublin, Limerick, Cork and Belfast, why not talk to our team about transforming your office environment? Contact Hunt Office Interiors today for a free consultation. Call us on 1890 771100 or email interiors@huntoffice.ie. Hunt Office, for all things office.
Hi, I'm the CEO of Donegal Catch, and I'm not a fish. As the #1 frozen fish brand in Ireland, we know fish. We know deliciously breaded real fish fillets provide a protein-packed meal your family will dive into. So how do we know so much about fish? We have our ways. But as I said, I'm definitely not a fish.
Donegal Catch, we're fish people.
Is your Volkswagen in need of a checkup? Trust an approved Volkswagen technician for peace of mind and to help keep your Volkswagen a Volkswagen. Book a classic service online for just €169 at Volkswagen.ie with free 1 year's roadside assistance and tyre care included. Terms and conditions apply.
Epic entertainment awaits. Switch to Air today and get totally unlimited super-fast fibre broadband for just $39.99 a month. Plus the Air Sport Pack absolutely free. And all on a simple 12-month contract. For more on this epic offer, call 1-800-500-300, go in store or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. New customers only. $59.99 a month thereafter. Subject to availability. User experience may vary. Bundle activation fee may apply. For full details and terms, see air.ie.
If you've had a mortgage for years, or you're a first-time buyer, why pay more for mortgage protection than you have to? VHI now offer cover from as little as €7.58 per month. It's easy to set up or switch over the phone. Call us on 1890 444444 or search VHI Mortgage Protection. €7.58 per month is based on a 30-year-old non-smoker for a 20-year term and mortgage protection of €158,000, including a 10% customer discount and a 1% insurance levy. Terms and conditions apply. VHI Healthcare DAC, trading as VHI Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to Zurich Life Assurance plc for VHI mortgage protection.
The big brand event continues at Curry's PC World with brilliant trade-in offers on Ireland's largest range of laptops. Get at least €50 off big-name brands like HP, Microsoft, Lenovo or Dell when you trade in a qualifying laptop. So trade in and save at the big brand event. At Curry's PC World, we help you get it right. T's and C's apply. Offer valid in-store only.
Mattresses-delivered.ie. Nationwide delivery within 48 hours for free. That's mattresses-delivered.ie. Lowest prices guaranteed. Don't forget the hyphen. T's and C's apply.
Planning your next corporate golf day? The K Club is the ideal destination. Just 30 minutes from Dublin, home of the 2006 Ryder Cup, 2016 Irish Open and 2 Arnold Palmer designed championship golf courses. You can follow in the footsteps of golfing champions, even if the ball doesn't. Visit kclub.ie for more.
Hi, I'm Stuart Martin, SuperValu store owner. Fill your trolley with the SuperValu range, with over 3,000 products like SuperValu plain flour 2 kg, only $1.79, and SuperValu hazelnut chocolate spread, only $1.29. With the SuperValu range, you can shop as you please and save as much as you like. All things considered, it's SuperValu.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
All right, you're welcome back. Full times coming in from the Premier League. The main story is that Manchester City are gone back on top of the Premier League table. They've ground it out once again. Let's get the full time from their game against Bournemouth. Watching this one at the Vitality Stadium was Alan Lewis.
It's finished Bournemouth 0 and Manchester City 1. The champions return to the top of the table thanks to a single goal victory. City dominated this game from start to finish but had to wait until 10 minutes into the second half to break the deadlock. Riyad Mahrez calming some of the City nerves. They should have been out of sight. Sterling went close twice. Aguero also hit the crossbar. Bournemouth failed to trouble the goalkeeper at all, and their poor run against City goes on. 8 Premier League defeats in a row against the champions. Liverpool, it's over to you. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 1.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we'll be at Goodison Park for Everton against Liverpool tomorrow. It is a 4:15 start time. Myself and Kev are going to be at that.
Looking forward to it?
Yes, very much so. Goodison Park is a
That's a great venue.
ground to watch a game, particularly a derby.
Purely from TV, Goodison has always seemed to me to have an exceptionally good noise level in it. That's just from
when they're going. Like any team, when they're going well, but for a derby, you'd imagine.
But it's great, But it's great to go to a place where you walk out of the ground and you're pretty much on the street, like in a residential area.
Anfield and Goodison are mad. They're just so and they're really close as well, aren't they? So Anfield is. Unfortunately, they're the grounds that don't really exist anymore when you're building new grounds. You're out in the middle of some...
Well, even Goodison Park's another level to Anfield. Anfield with the new stand is a very modern stadium. Goodison, much like Goodison and Selhurst Park are the only two that shake.
I've never been to Selhurst Park.
If this big goal goes in,
you've never been to Selhurst Park.
Stadium shakes.
Paul Rouse had an interesting article in the Examiner about the homogenisation of the grounds in England, that they're all so alike.
Southampton, I'd never been there before, and it's just like you could be anywhere.
He was saying compared to the Dell,
the Liberty Stadium, like the Cardiff City Stadium, are the same stadium.
Yeah,
and he was actually an article that basically was kind of extolling the League of Ireland, and I was kind of thinking it's interesting you say that because a lot of our grounds are in a pretty bad nick, but at least they're very individual.
Well, Selhurst Park is it's a great ground to go and watch a game if Palace are doing well. If you can go to a nighttime game. I was with Damien Delaney on a couple of months ago. I was chatting about the night of the 3-3 against Liverpool. I've never been in a stadium with an atmosphere like it. When Palace came from 3-0 down to draw 3-0. But as you come over the hill from getting the train out towards Selhurst Park, the stadium just sort of appears below you, and you can almost tell their promotions and relegations by the 18 different parts of the stadium, that they did a little bit of an upgrade here this year. This part is 35 years old. This part's only 15 years old. It's
the big thing is Palace have those fans behind the goal that are very they're non-English fans in terms of the way they're really hardcore throughout the game. It's more like continental, but the old stand, it's literally it's timber seats. It's so old. You're this is astonishing at Premier League level. And
I'm fairly sure Goodison Park is all timber seats.
Yeah, it is actually.
That's mad. That's you hardly get them in the League of Ireland anymore. Legitimately. Do you remember where the seats came from? A little trivia for you into Terryland Park on the far side, where they came from. An English ground that is no more.
The Dell?
No, they did play in red and white though.
Roker Park?
No, I'm actually trying to remember the name of the ground now. It was Stoke City's old ground.
It
was the old Stoke City ground.
That's going to kill me now.
Yeah. Oh God.
So you know the
Victoria Ground?
The Victoria. You know the way you want you want to see
Boundary Park is old, it's still there.
You know the way you want your new stand to have GUFC written in white and maroon. We just brought in the old red seats from Stoke.
Fair enough. Let's get the full time from Old Trafford. A dramatic and entertaining afternoon yet again under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Watching this one was Darren Stanich.
United 3, Southampton 2. After a bright United start, it was the Saints that led at the break. Jan Valerie's 25-yard strike beat De Gea. The Reds responded after the break to score twice early on. Pereira struck brilliantly to level things up. He laid off for Lukaku then, who kept his cool to slot home. Dalot and Lukaku went close to a third, but the Saints weren't done. A free kick from Ward-Prowse levelled the score once more. Those pushed for another. Fred found Lukaku, who turned and fired home the winner as Paul Pogba missed an injury time penalty. United 3, Southampton 2.
So Manchester United into the top four once again. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's what an incredible start he's made. It's becoming impossible for them not to give him the job.
They've used him to promote the season tickets for next season, so he's it would be a bit strange if my kids were watching at home and somebody else has the job. Daddy, why are you promoting? I think he's gotten the job now, right?
Got well paid for it, kids.
Yeah, I think this is why we're spending our summer in Dubai.
Did you see the photo of the Rovers fans last night queuing up in Tallaght for the away section? It was hard to believe. The Dundalk fans queuing up for the away section. It's hard to believe this was a League of Ireland game. So you have a queue. A long way
radio.
Great to see.
And you flicked onto the betting side instead of the
some screen grab. There must have been must have been a queue of 500 people.
Well, there was nearly 5,000 at the game last night.
There was, and it's
another terrible game.
You have a modern stadium.
It wasn't that bad a game.
It wasn't terrible.
Everyone came out saying I actually thought it wasn't the worst game.
Yeah,
but it's funny that you have a proper stadium and there was 4,800 people there. So that's a bigger crowd than was in Dalymount on Monday, which was sold out and heralded, it's great, it was a sellout. But actually you have a facility there that allows you to get a proper number in, and
that looks great.
Yeah, that's what you should be aspiring to, rather than I love going to Dalymount, but having a derby game sold out, that's great. It was sold out because health and safety reason means part of the ground can't be open, and more people who could have gone to the game couldn't go, so that's frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, so hopefully, if Bohs keep going, the next Rovers Bohs game in Tala, we have a proper crowd for a Dublin derby.
Frustrating few days for Burnley, but a very good afternoon for Crystal Palace at Turf Moor. Let's hear about it, Adam Drury.
A convincing 3-1 win for Crystal Palace ensured they bounced back immediately from a midweek blip. The deadlock was broken in the 15th minute when Bardsley turns the ball into his own net. 3 minutes into the second half, Batshuayi made it 2 with a first-time strike from Wan-Bissaka's cross. Then in the 76th minute, Zaha put the game to bed as he twisted and turned the Clarets defence before slotting home. Barnes scored a 90th minute consolation for Burnley, but a Palace win takes them on to 33 points, edging them closer to the survival. Full-time at Turf Moor, it finished Burnley 1, Crystal Palace 3.
So that's, you would imagine, Crystal Palace pretty much safe. I think it moves them 8 points clear of the relegation zone now. A big win as well for Chris Hughton and for Brighton. They've had a really bad time of it in the league in 2019. Watching this game against Huddersfield at the Amex Stadium was Michael Lawrence. No, we don't have Brighton against Huddersfield, it seems. I built it up so much.
Oh, yeah, it was a perfect intro as well. It was just really solid.
It was the only one. It was the only one as well. Brighton won that game 1-0. Florin and Done.
An intro so good it could feature in your next Irish Examiner profile interview.
Wow. Wow.
Nice. People should look that up and read it there.
Listen, only because you work for the Irish Independent, you know. Well, you want to give them another side, you know.
Yeah.
All they see is the, you know, radio persona, Dan.
Yeah.
It's the
man behind the mic that people want to know.
Exactly, yeah.
The Nathan behind the rice cake.
Exactly. An obsession with rice cakes is somewhat unhealthy.
We should normally be gone by 5. Are you just keeping us in for like extra homework?
You've been just shouting on so much, Johnny. We've gone way over time.
I want to give if I can give a mention to Adam Farrell, Shivan Rovers Galway United star, who had a very serious injury in training the other day, and he's watching a lot of his former teammates starring off Galway United, particularly Colin Kelly. But Adam Farrell, we'd be very proud of him in our sort of backwater area of North East Galway. He's gone on to play for Galway United, and I just wish him a healthy recovery. And Galway United last night had a load of players from all over the county. Very, very proud to be associated with him at this time.
Well, we wish him all the best.
Adam Farrell.
You would be a nightmare for a TV director, Johnny, because your face suggests you're going to say something quite lighthearted, but then it's actually something terrible has happened here. For some reason, I'm still talking with a big smile on my face when I'm talking about this terrible thing that's happened, but I'm just going to get it out there.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's just your face. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it.
Your rice cake.
Finally, let's go to Molineux. Wolves against Cardiff. No Matt Doherty for us to chat about this week, unfortunately. But watching this game between Wolves and Cardiff, Clive Edwards.
Full time at Molineux. It's Wolves 2, Cardiff 0. 2 goals in 2 minutes in the first half, and Jota and Jimenez secured this victory for the home side. Wolves looked very good for most of the game. Cardiff struggled. They could not break down this Wolves defence. They're still in the bottom 3, and it looks dark for them ahead. It's Wolves 2, Cardiff 0.
All right, so there you are. Full times, the big stories in the Premier League.
Funny, that
Manchester City
Can we talk
beaten
about
Bournemouth by 1-0. Manchester United 3-2 winners against Southampton. Palace 3-1 winners away at Burnley. Brighton beat Huddersfield by 1-0, and Wolves 2-0 winners over Cardiff. Spurs and Arsenal drew 1-1 in the North London derby earlier. The late game is West Ham against Newcastle. Name your players play for both clubs, Dan.
Kevin Nolan.
Kevin Nolan.
And,
Kevin Nolan.
And the big lad up front.
Andy Carroll.
Andy Carroll. I fancy Newcastle to get something here, actually.
Have you ever met Kevin Nolan, John?
I did. I met him at I was at a Liverpool Villa game 12 or 13 years ago. Went into this typically kind of dingy late bar / nightclub, and there was just Kevin Nolan. Dead sound, actually.
Get going, got a chat going.
Yeah, I was chatting away to him. Yeah, it was God, it was Liverpool's a fairly gritty place.
So what were you talking about then?
It was 12, 13 years ago, Dan. Probably the next race and following day's racing in Cheltenham or something.
On that note,
Nathan, it's been great fun to come in again.
Are you going to be with us next Saturday? Are you heading over to Cheltenham early?
No, I'm actually at Liverpool Burnley on the Sunday, but I'm going over on the Sunday morning. So
be with us next Saturday.
And it's great. Burnley are obviously going.
Unless he gets a better offer in the meantime.
Of course.
Burnley are going into the game having completely lost their 2019 unbeaten run, so Liverpool will hopefully win, and then it's stay in Liverpool and then go to Cheltenham on the Monday, and you have your preview night on the Monday.
The Sunday.
It's the Sunday.
Well, this is awkward. On that note, we'll go to an ad break.
Get up-to-the-minute news updates at newstalk.com and on the Newstalk app.
Journey after journey, your vehicle's oils and fluids fight against huge pressure, resistance and temperatures. Make sure you regularly check your vehicle's oils and fluids to prevent harm to your vehicle and achieve peak performance and efficiency. Motor Tips, brought to you by Volkswagen Service. Book a service online at volkswagen.ie.
Can I get a receipt? Yep.
This is it. After years of been rolled up within an inch of my life, it's finally happening. I'm free! There you go. What? Oh, you might have me for a minute, buddy, but not for long. Where's it gonna be? The wallet? The bag? Or the pocket, eh? There's your first mistake. This won't hold me for long, pal.
Receipts have a mind of their own. Go paperless and manage your travel expenses online with My Taxi Business. Make the smarter choice at mytaxi.com.